Hello and welcome to the Super Show, your one-stop shop for the most easy to find and Googleable news stories from the week in the world of gaming. Today, I'm your host, Alex Jones, and as always, joined by the Bacon Royale with extra opinions, hold the relish, and the double Big Mac with a side of sass. I'm referring to, of course, Chris and Jamie. Welcome, fellas. How you doing today?
Oh my God. What a fucking delight that was, Alex Jones.
Do you know what? Actually, for a minute, I was trying to remember how you both take your burgers, and I couldn't be bothered to think about it because it's so complicated. So I just made it up.
We discovered, actually, that we've almost known each other for a decade now, Alex Jones, and you still don't know how I take my burgers.
Okay, right. You take yours with no relish, no mustard, ketchup.
Nope.
Oh, it's Jamie has ketchup. Okay, you have nothing. You don't have any sauce.
Correct.
And then Jamie has no relish, no lettuce, no onion, no anything. He wants it plain as, and then he puts ketchup in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I did know.
I think the big thing I always remember with Chris is just no sauce, anytime, anywhere, and
just get it out of here. Doesn't just. You know, some people say, "Oh, if I could travel back in time and I fucking kill Hitler, and then I get rid of all the bees." For me, it's like no fucking sauces, all right? If you live in my dystopia, no fucking sauces for you, all right?
Get rid of the bees?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? Well, then we have no honey.
Yeah, but
why are you getting rid of the bees?
Because you wouldn't have bee stings.
Actually, he's got a point there.
Right. I thought you were doing some weird kind of butterfly effect thing where if you kill baby Hitler, then the bees die out. And I was trying to put
it's
I don't know
possible.
Where this is going.
No, but it's okay, look, bees, that's not a thing, okay? Because bees are good for the planet, but like, what's the fucking point of a mosquito?
You said that and I thought it. I heard something the other day that without mosquitoes, we would all die out within like a few years.
Bullshit.
I don't believe it.
Similar kind of reasons.
That sounds like research provided by the fucking Mosquito Society.
The University of Mosquito Preservation's research shows.
Yeah, the Mosquito Net Company, who are the only people who make mosquito nets.
Yeah, exactly.
I've lived in this room for 6 years without a single mosquito in here, and I'm doing just fine.
Exactly. He's not dead.
There's my research survey of one. Our survey says, "Ding me."
Well, you're not dead, so I think that is infallible evidence right there, and we have to go with it. But let's get away from mosquitoes. Hello to everybody out there who's watching. We are a gaming podcast. That might not be clear from the intro about Hitler and bees and mosquitoes. But if you're watching us on YouTube, we are also available on podcasting platforms. I'm talking, of course, about Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, but also anywhere you get your platforms. We even touched on it last week as to some strange places strange places you get your podcasts, strange platforms that we're on. I can't even remember them.
Right,
they're all on the dark web. Yeah, exactly.
The big ones, Stitcher, Deezer, are on those. What's some of the weird ones?
iHeartRadio, podcast nation shit. I don't know.
Silk Road on the dark web. Yeah, if anyone frequents that, buy an AK-47 and get this podcast.
But we are also available on internet radio because we're internet radio megastars. What did we decide? It wasn't megastars anymore, was it?
We've gone so far ahead. We probably circled back around, and now we're just simps.
Just simps again. True. I'm talking about Paisley Radio at paisleyradio.com, where we are streamed live on Thursdays at 10 p.m. and repeats on Monday. So you could always head over there and you can check us out. We're also on Twitter and YouTube, as I said, at SuperShow Pod. So there are so many ways you can get in contact with us. You can talk to us, you can reach out, you can ask us questions, you can, I don't even know, send us cool pictures that you draw of your
Hold on.
I'm glad you clarified there.
Yeah, I'm going to stop because I'm getting myself in a hole.
Draw Jamie like one of your French girls, all right?
See, we've made that request before and people have done that.
I know. Yeah. It's I think it's still in the Discord somewhere.
I think also on the old all-time gaming Instagram.
You're right. That's where it is.
It's over my fireplace. I had it printed out and framed, and I
wait, printed out? You didn't get it painted?
Oh, I should have done. I should have done, shouldn't I? Yeah,
that's all right.
That would have been good.
Wow.
I do have a question for you because obviously every day we stray further and further from God's light and less about a gaming podcast than we probably first set out to be. Do you think we should change our kind of like category to like lifestyle?
I don't think we go that far down the lifestyle route yet. Maybe in a few years, once we're at like episode 500, we'll have to switch it up. But I think for now we're pretty safe.
Yeah, let's get past episode 100 first. Jesus.
True.
Exactly. Would you guys like a little a bit of insight into the gaming stories we're going to talk about later in the show?
Go on then.
So we're going to be talking about the Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy reception, backlash, whatever you want to call it. We're also going to touch on some new allegations, I suppose they are, for Activision Blizzard. That is the story that keeps on giving. We are going to be talking about Call of Duty and Vanguard, which came out recently. And to top it all off, we're going to touch on some of the announcements of the nominations for the Game Awards.
Game Awards. Big old Jeff Keighley, special guest coming up in this podcast.
I would love that.
What do you reckon his fee is?
I don't think he charges you.
A pair of nice shiny shoes.
A home-cooked meal and a pair of shiny shoes.
I think we could figure that out. Yeah. I don't know who's cooking, but...
No, but I think does he do like guest appearances? Not to say that he's a stuck-up person or anything, but I just kind of feel that like he just doesn't do that kind of thing because he doesn't think in that kind of way. But I may be entirely wrong. But you get what I'm saying? Like he's kind of like preoccupied with other stuff, and he's just like...
I'll reach out to him and I'll drop him an email and I'll say, Jeff, would you want to come on the podcast?
Do it, because to be fair, your get some traction with at least 2 people.
It's true. Do you know what's funny? Kind of on a similar topic, although this doesn't necessarily apply to Jeff Keighley because he's not on there. But the other day I was doing a one-man brainstorming session around some potential future content for the SuperShow, kind of as we move towards the end of the year and,
I like it.
Try and generate a few different ideas. And
I'm still waiting for that Army of 2 video. So I don't get over the fucking first speed bump there.
Don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of it. Army of 2? What? Never. No, it doesn't exist. But I did find myself browsing the members of the website Cameo to get a rough idea of what certain celebrity messages and video messages would cost.
Can we get Ja Rule?
I didn't see him on there. Cameo is when you pay and a celebrity gives you a voice message, or a video message rather. And you can do it for birthday celebrations. So for example, you could pay 50 quid and you get Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle to say happy birthday to your mum.
Here's the interesting thing. Do you know who the number 1 most popular person on that platform is?
I don't know.
I'm probably going to fuck up his name, but it's the dude is it James Buckley?
Oh, yes, from The In-Betweeners.
From The In-Betweeners.
I've pulled it up and I've actually got a featured tab. Would you like me to read out some of the people that are featured at the moment? Because James Buckley is number 1.
Yeah, honestly, he is the most popular person because he just wants everyone to call him like friends.
Yeah, totally.
Miriam Margolyes is number 2.
Wow, really? Okay.
Rebecca Adler. Well, I don't think this is how
these are featured.
Popular. These are just featured. Yeah, these are just featured.
I wonder if these are also featured based on the fact that we are geographically, we're located in the UK. And
undoubtedly. Rebecca Adlington, the British Olympian. Mo Farah is on there as well. Nick Frost. Jorginho, Chelsea FC midfielder.
Jorginho's on there, wow.
Jamie lit up.
No, I just didn't expect to hear that name.
There. Oh, do you want to know who's trending?
Yeah.
Who are these people? Johnny Blaze?
I don't know who Johnny Blaze is.
An R&B singer, apparently. I've never heard any of these people. Oh, Mick Foley.
Mick Foley, legend. I can see why you'd want a video message from Mick Foley. I get that.
But is it as Mankind, though?
I think some of these people you can, if they're famous for playing certain characters, you can get them to do certain voices or certain characters. I don't know if they constantly walk around with certain outfits or masks, but Basil Brush is on there, and he's just a straight up he's a character.
We should offer cameos to our patrons. Just add it in on I don't know.
We should.
The £50, the $50 tier.
Yeah, but then
can we create our own? Can we create our own cameo and put ourselves on there for 50p?
No, but then
who is going to want us?
Yeah, who would our messages mean anything
50p. It would be funny to be on there for 50p.
Because even if we gave them away to our patrons, the patrons in question might care, but they're not going to give it to a loved one for their birthday. Hey, we're those guys from the podcast that your brother listens to.
No, I meant for the person. I meant for the person who bought. Oh, right. No,
but who's buying it for themselves?
Just for fun, just for a laugh.
For funsies, for 50p. No one's going to do it, Jonesy. We're going to be a laughing stock.
Well, like we were at that
Insomnia.
Exactly. Insomnia. Tom Felton is on there. He's 443 quid.
That's because the Harry Potter fans are fucking nut jobs. No offense to any Harry Potter. I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just mean that you guys are kind of crazy sometimes.
I was trying to find the most expensive. I wonder if I can do a category where I can see.
Rudy Giuliani is only $181.
Price high to low. Or Mike Tyson, 14,800. Floyd Mayweather,
That tracks,
11,100.
I could totally see.
Caitlyn Jenner, 1,850. That surprises me for some reason.
Why does that surprise you?
Caitlyn Jenner like a billionaire? What's the point? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point?
Can I say the one thing about rich people?
Yeah,
they love money.
True.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, everybody loves money, but like you'd think that like rich people are like, oh, I've got my money, I'll chill now. No, always make more money.
Floyd Mayweather is here again, like one of the wealthiest sportsmen in the world. £11,100 for a cameo. So
that blows my. Why £100 then? Why add the £100?
Well, also, it's from 1,100. So I mean, it could be that's for 1 second.
Mental.
Yeah, true. Actually, turns out though, I think the most interesting thing about all of this conversation though is not that Cameo exists or that people are on it, but it turns out that Cameo joins the long list of things that Jonesy found out existed today somehow.
Yeah, I just right this very second. I did not know it was a thing. Do you know what I thought it was when you said it? I thought it was that website, like, is it Star Me, where it's people who are trying to become famous?
Oh, right. A Star Now and stuff like that.
Star Now.
Yeah.
But there you go.
There's a video idea for you, Jamie. Let's just fucking do Star Now and see how far we get.
Oh, yeah, that's a great video idea. All of us join a talent website and try and make it as actors, and who gets the furthest wins. Great.
We're here. Anyway, did you explain what your fucking idea was? Cameo. You were looking at Cameo.
No, it's a bit too premature to explain the idea. I was just Cameo and getting certain celebrity people to do certain bits of a video would be a part of the video. I'll explain more to you guys behind the scenes if you're curious, but I'm afraid the good folks at home might have to wait a little bit longer for this video to definitely not happen because we run out of time.
Well, exactly. I can say that as a track record of us trying to do things outside of a podcast centric kind of thing, I'd like to say the tally so far is me and Jonesy, right? And you. It's kind of like way squashed down there on the bottom.
Huh. Yeah.
Don't worry, he's got his great cameo idea that's going to come off, so it's all good.
I like that all of a sudden now we're taking the piss out of me for having an idea because you guys made one video each last summer, over a year ago.
Actually, I made 3, so go fuck yourself.
You edited some stuff that all of us contributed to at different points.
Did you help on the Star Wars one? No.
Anyway,
there's nothing to do with me. I helped. I'm going
to quickly move this show along from this little invite.
Yeah, but before the fucking Civil War starts.
Because from a universe where we are all Cameo, Star Me, superstars, to a multiverse or a multiverses, because we obviously talked about the story. Was it? I think it was last week, blimey, when there was some leaks and some rumors about.
Jonesy, what
was it last week or was it the week before,
mate?
I don't remember. Anyway,
time is a flat circle. Remember,
it is something like that. The multiverses rumors were out and about that there was going to be a Warner Brothers. I don't even know what you call it, a beat 'em up game in the style of Smash Bros.
I believe it's called a platform brawler.
Platform brawler, there you go. And it has now been announced, and we've seen a trailer for it, which is surprising, actually. It's more than I thought we'd get to see at this point, given that it was, I guess it's not a very well-guarded secret, as it was a confirmed rumour. But, there you go. We now know that the game is going to be free to play. It will feature 2v2 matches, 1v1 and 4-player free-for-all in online and local matches. But I think there's also a single-player thing, isn't there, as well? Isn't there a single-player aspect of something? I thought they mentioned that in the trailer.
Yeah, well, you do a 4-player free-for-all that's like you playing against other people, I guess.
But I'm
saying like story-wise.
Yeah, I thought the guy said that in the trailer said that there was some sort of single-player aspect, but I'm not sure if that's just bots,
I don't really
maybe.
Remember, I was dazzled by some of what was going on there, but it's possible. Yeah. Like Smash Brothers has a single-player story.
Yeah, I don't think they said anything about story, but there's certainly
not story, but like maybe bot mode or something like that.
You'll be able to play this game when you're like if you 1v1 local, like that's you against an AI, right? That's you against CPU, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was imagining that would be more like you against your mate sitting next to you.
Some of us don't have mates, Jonesy.
That's true. There'll also be ranked competitive. There'll be customization options. And the biggest thing, of course, is that there are some really cool characters who are going to be featured. We saw a few in the trailer. We didn't see as many as I think that were rumoured before, but should we talk through some of them?
Yeah.
I want to know which ones were your guys' favourites that you saw. Do any jump out?
I think one jumps out. Yeah, do we do the list first or do we do
favourite? I'll tell you what, I'll give you the list then and then you can tell me who your favourite was. So we've got Arya Stark, Batman, Bugs Bunny, Finn the Human, Garnet, Harley Quinn, Jake the Dog, Rain Dog, who the hell is Rain Dog? Shaggy, Steven Universe, Superman, Tom and Jerry, Wonder Woman, and many more to come, as they've said that there will be more characters introduced over time.
I might have got it twisted, but I think I looked up Rain Dog and found out that it is an animal that is a cross between a reindeer and a dog that I think is from Steven Universe, but I might be wrong.
I hadn't heard of it, but yeah. I mean, there's a clear winner there, right? I think
there is absolutely a clear winner. Chris, I think you and me are on the same wavelength there.
Yeah. Who is the clear winner?
Shaggy.
It's got to be Shaggy, dude. Come on, Jonesy.
Yeah, I mean, he was the whole thing about the fucking meme, like, when it was like 2 years ago, where it's like Shaggy is the most powerful being in the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
and if they realise that in this game, that would be pretty cool.
But they have, because they fucking lean into it, isn't it? Shaggy can go fucking Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's also a bit towards the end of the trailer where they're showing off customization, some of the skins you could unlock or purchase, and there appears to be a Bruce Lee inspired get-up for Shaggy, which I guess makes sense. They basically got the exact same haircut, albeit with a different colour.
The most boring one was probably Arya Stark.
Well, that's the one that fucking confuses me, to be honest. Like, all the others, like, if you say like a multiverses kind of thing, and you're talking about like Batman, and it's like an animated version of Batman and Superman, and all their like animated properties, like I'm like, yeah, totally on board. And it's like, oh yeah, Arya Stark. And it's like,
but that's why I like it. First of all, it was I think the only one that we saw officially that wasn't leaked in some capacity. But also, if you're opening the door for live action HBO shows, then the sky's the fucking limit, baby. Like Tony Soprano's coming back from the dead, baby, in the season 1 of DLC.
Just never moves. He's just always in the middle of the thing, just fucking shooting and eating like fucking hamburgers and complaining to a psychiatrist.
If you press X, he says gabagool.
I like the idea that every match where it ends up with him and someone else at the end, it goes black and you hear it goes bang and you never find out who won the match.
Oh, that's great. That's so good. I don't know about you fellas, but I think this looks like a fucking blast.
It's a weird one. Like it looked like it just looks like an absolute Super Smash Bros. Ripoff, which it was always going to be, but I was surprised at how much it looked like that. But at the same time, with the characters they've got, the voice actors that they've got playing the characters, it looks wicked. I'm totally into it, and it's free to play. So why not? Why not jump in?
Yeah, I think free to play is kind of the key thing, right? Like I'm not quite with Jonesy in terms of how Smash-y it looked. I think from memory, actually, I'd maybe need to remind myself of the video, but I think the Nickelodeon one almost looked more like Smash Brothers than this. This wasn't quite as floaty. Some of the animations, and especially when it came to actually like the way that moves connected, felt a little bit more sticky. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean there was a bit more of an emphasis on the impact of certain moves. And one of the things I, in theory, like, again, I guess it depends how it plays when it's all said and done, is that by putting the 2v2 mode first and foremost and prioritizing some kind of co-op, that's an interesting twist that we haven't seen. And we saw examples of moves that would kind of like complement each other. We saw Wonder Woman using her whip to pull someone back from the edge before they fell, and we saw Bugs Bunny digging a hole between different parts of the map that their teammate could also use to travel through. That kind of stuff is an interesting twist on the subgenre that I thought is interesting. And also, I'll just say, given that one of the things that people were disappointed about in the Nickelodeon thing was like the lack of really taking advantage of those licensed properties with music and voice lines and voice actors. I think the fact they've got some of the voice casts they've got, more power to them.
Hell yeah!
I've actually forgot. No, I think you're absolutely bang on about some of the ways you can use characters, not in outright fighting, but like you said, the Bugs Bunny thing, the Batman smoke bomb thing, like as little teammate things. That was actually a really nice touch that I think will add a different sort of flair to the game. It'll be interesting just to see how it comes out now, how it plays, how it feels, because that surely is everything with this sort of game, right?
Yeah.
Like it seems that it could play fluid enough to be enjoyable. It obviously depends on what's the latency and the input lag, etc. One thing that they did say is that they've got server side rollback code, blah blah blah, which means that they're kind of taking things seriously, which is really interesting.
They pledged to have dedicated servers for as long as the game is around. It sounded like so.
That they also mentioned, as you said, Chris, they talked about lag, they talked about latency, and they said that they were things that they were really keen to address and make sure that this is the creme de la creme of online fighters, which is quite good that they're referencing that in the bit when they the announcement trailer, because that's the thing they need to address, right? Stuff like that is what people are going to care about.
Yeah. And it seems like one way or another people care. Like I had an interesting tweet from a guy I follow on Twitter who's an analyst for the MPD who tracks sort of game sales and stuff like that. And he put out a tweet that basically said metrics that determine whether or not a game is going to succeed. And the 2 bullet points were lots of people are talking about it and they love it. And the second bullet point was lots of people are talking about it and they hate it. Metrics for determining whether or not the game is going to fail. And the only bullet point is nobody's talking about it. And I think that like multiverse is one of those things where, and it's probably why they've done it, right? And why it's going to be free to play is you have such a broad range of characters that can appeal to so many people. There's going to be a laundry list of gamers who are going to say, do you know what? I'll download it for 1 round as Shaggy, or 1 round as Batman, or 1 round as Tom and Jerry, or whatever it is.
I think you fucking nailed it there. Just literally just Shaggy. Just kind of bringing back the meme. We worked with people that if anything had Shrek in it, they'd fucking jump in. So it's
very true.
You've got all of these fucking meme stars.
Who owns Shrek?
DreamWorks. Yeah, DreamWorks. Which is owned by...
now we get to play the family tree game of like, how far back does it go?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that's Spielberg, right? And Spielberg has a history with Warner Brothers. So
DreamWorks, as of 2016 to present, is a part of NBC Universal / Comcast, which is a part of Comcast.
Oh, they own Disney? No, they don't own Disney.
No. They own Xfinity, NBC Universal, and Sky Group.
Yeah, exactly.
And Comcast, Spectator, Leisure Arts, and Midco. Oh, God. It's just it's so fucking complicated.
Yeah, it's a fucking tangled web we weave, right? But yeah, like just the fact that like the meme could come back and that's all it needs to be successful. Honestly.
Yes.
It's funny as well because obviously you get to the day when like a Smash Bros game comes out and then it's like, do I want to drop 60 quid or am I going to go and play this free-to-play multiverses game? And as long as, like you say, as long as it's in people's minds, as long as people are talking about it, that becomes an option because suddenly you say, oh, rather than hop on that, we could hop on this multiverses, we could all hop in there and have a game. Yeah. I should also mention as well at this point that it will be on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox X, the S, and PC. Stadia, absent from the list of platforms that it's going to be coming to.
Shocker.
I wonder if that's going to become a recurring thing. It's also cross-play and cross-progression, which is also a very good selling point to have on a free-to-play fighting game.
Ticking all the boxes. It's good. It's interesting, like, I found this out a couple of, maybe a week ago. This really kind of took me by surprise. But you remember Brawlhalla?
Yeah.
Which is like Ubisoft's take on a platform brawler, right? Do you know that this game has a championship?
Oh, no.
I don't think I knew that.
Like, as in like ages. An esports championship?
I know that Ubisoft talked about it so much that it gave me the impression at times that it wasn't going away, but I didn't know that.
Well, the 2021 Brawlhalla World Championship is an open entry $250,000 event. So,
that's solid. Like, I think there was a Warzone event the other day that was a $400,000 event in total. Yeah. So when you compare, that's Brawlhalla players are eating well, I guess.
So basically, what I'm saying, fellas, is you better start practicing as Shaggy because that's the only way that the Super Show is going to continue is with some of that multiverses prize pool money.
Man,
yeah,
I I really hope they go ham with the DLC characters on this.
Oh yeah,
Just go as mental as they can.
And I hope they kind of like keep like a decent kind of like trickle going.
Yes, agreed.
It'll be great is if in the future, where there's a new Smash Bros game and there's new characters coming out for it, and like get character for character every time they release a new character of Smash Bros, they drop a new character for this.
Yeah,
and it becomes this kind of like one-upsmanship. Who can have the better characters? And Warner Bros are like, we own so many cool characters, we're just going to destroy you. That would be quite a fun little battle.
But then you have the crossover, right, where Shaggy goes over to
yes,
and Mario visits the multiverses. Yeah. It'd be cool.
Somehow the Rabbids get involved and like ping Mario over, and it's like all mental. And hey, it writes itself.
I'm down for that.
Talking about how we're going to support the Super Show, we should probably take this moment to mention our Patreons.
Nice.
Over at patreon.com, they are some wonderful people that support us week in and week out. And
give the full thing, Jonesy. You never say it right.
Patreon.com/SuperShow.
Oh, nice. Clean.
What a dude.
You can head over there. You can join for as little as $2 a month. And for that, you can get access to our Discord, the $5 and above tier. We also do some extra content, and we've actually recently started recording pre-shows. So whilst you may have only been listening to this for about half an hour, we actually started about an hour ago in the first 30 minutes. Talking a lot of bollocks, really, before we get into the main show. Is on the pre-show that hopefully we'll be doing. We've already done 2, actually, so this is the second one we've done, and will be reasonably regular, so you can check out some more content on there. We've also got some behind-the-scenes videos. We've also got...
Known Murderer,
the big boy, the one that I'm... Yeah, that close to my heart. That hopefully there'll be another episode of that going up soon as well. But I'm going to take this moment to mention some of the Patreons. There are some on screen right now, but I'd also like to give a shout out to Aimnestus, Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Jesper Camden Nielsen, Javella Cujo, Leo Merger, Magic Grits, Mindful Pig, Nathan Pears, part of the 0.2%, if you know, you know. I said it wrong, part of the 2.24%. If you know, you know. Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starful Kid, Zach Cream, Brett Z, Doppler, Geometric Potter, Hacksaw Book Read, Manuel, Caribbean Pappy Guerrero, and Peaswad.
And legends.
Thank you so much, all
Thanks,
of you,
gang.
for supporting us. So like I said, it is patreon.com/Super Show. Head over there to join the Patreon and keep the lights on.
Super, what would you call them? Super gangbangers.
The Super Gang, the Super Bang Gang.
Super.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not going to throw an idea out there. I'm going to leave that hanging.
Wow, leave it in the air. All right, fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly do a comment of the week. I'm going to do it a little bit differently though, because I've combined a few of them, boys. Because last week we threw it out and asked who we should fight in a boxing style match from other YouTube channels, gaming channels, whatever you like. And we did have a few suggestions, and I thought I would just shine a light on some of them. To be fair, there was actually I think it was the Rain who said, why go for boxing when really the true calling for us should be WWE, which I think was a great shout. Jamie especially would be pride of place.
I'm all about the pageantry.
Absolutely. But we did have some other suggestions. We had that I should fight Mike from Outside Xbox. Chris should fight David from PlayStation Access. And in tag team action, Jamie and Steph should fight Peter and Ben with Ashton from Triple Jump. We then had a suggestion that, Jamie, you and I should fight each other because people are under the impression that we are a similar height and should go toe-to-toe. I don't like my odds in that, so I'm going to say it's a terrible idea. Go on.
I was going to say that in our current form, I think I'd have the early advantage. But the thing you'd have to remember is that if you gassed me out, I'd just be like falling over myself.
Yeah, it would only take about like 45 seconds, right?
It'd be that Kimbo Slice Dada 5000 fight where it ended because one of the guys was so exhausted, kind of just fell over.
I was getting suggested on YouTube the MMA fighter versus is it a sumo wrestler, and it's like the 500-pound sumo wrestler, and the MMA guy just dances around him for about 10 minutes until he basically falls over,
and then they can't get back up again. It's like a turtle that's upside down, like on its shell.
Roll me over.
Can't get back up.
The final suggestion was, Jamie, that you gain a few £100 and you fight Boogie.
That's very generous. I don't need to gain that much weight to fight Boogie, trust me.
I guess it depends where Boogie is on his journey, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Boogie we're talking about.
last saw Boogie in the flesh early 2019, at which point I think, based on his videos, you'd think he was doing pretty well in terms of his weight loss journey, but in person he did still look like a ball.
I think he has done very well. He's lost a lot, hasn't he? I think he put a little bit back on, but I think he's still in ball territory. It's going to take him a while to get out of that.
Because he's much shorter than me, I think, as well, which bless him, doesn't help with weight gain.
Yeah. No, yeah, because I met him in, where was it?
E3 2018,
of course, E3, 2018. I actually met him and talked to him and said hello to him, and that was cool. And he's shorter than me as well, so yeah, he's...
Oh, you're shorter than me?
Yeah, you would definitely have... you would have a big height advantage.
Do you guys have any? I know we kind of said it last week, but do you have any updated thoughts on who you'd like to take out? Because I've got an update on mine.
Go on,
let's hear it.
Matt Pat from Game Theory.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
Matt Pat from Game Theory. Matt Pat.
That would be. I imagine that he's about this big in real life.
I think he's like a Shaggy, right? I think he's like tall and lanky.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe. I still think he's tall. I think he's like under 5 foot.
I think that he'd just be like in good nick, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
are you trying to say you fancy Matt Pat?
Is that a sexual thing to say someone's in good nick?
No, I get what you're saying. Like,
depends how you mean it.
He looks after himself.
Either way.
Yeah. I think. Well, sure. I'm not going to say that either because Jonesy will also make homosexual connotations about it. Look, hey,
there's nothing wrong with it.
I just don't think he'd be weak. I think he'd have hidden gamer strength.
I don't know. I reckon Chris would definitely.
In the same way, you know how like some people have dad strength. I think it's like they're just very.
I will say this. All right. People underestimate me, and those people don't underestimate me for too long.
I'm not underestimating you. I said my money would be on you with Matt Pat, definitely.
I think if it came down to you versus Matt Pat, I still think I'd probably give you the edge, Chris, because I don't think, while I give Matt Pat lots of credit for being, as I said, in good nick, #not gay, no homo, sorry, that's the actual real hashtag, not gay, I just made up my own one. I still think Chris has got this kind of like, I've broken him.
Jesus. No, I was drinking some water, you made me choke on it, you dickhead.
#not gay. I think Chris has got this kind of potential, almost feral element to him that we very rarely see, but I think you could just go buck wild. Like, almost like a gerbil in a life or death situation.
Yeah. It's funny you say gerbil because I was thinking, what's the actor's name? The hamster, is it, or the gerbil in what's the film where he's like a weird little superhero?
Danny DeVito.
No.
What?
Well, do that impression for a little bit longer, and I might be able to figure it out. Yeah, keep it going.
Yeah, keep going.
Shit, who's the actor who plays it? It's
I have no idea what you're even talking about. Ben Stiller
from Night at the Museum. Ben Stiller.
When was Ben Stiller a hamster / gerbil super? Oh, are you talking about what's that film that the Smash Mouth music video is set in? Yeah.
Mystery Men. Yeah.
But was he a gerbil in that? I don't know.
He was like a gerbil.
Well, it's kind of like Jamie kind of hit it right. Like on Too Fast, Too Furious. I'm the rat in the bucket. But here's the thing, fellas. Here's the thing, fellas. I don't need a flame.
Oh, that I feel like someone should put that like a black and white picture of your face and then put that quote next to it and then upload it to Facebook.
So Ben Stiller is Mr. Furious, and his superpower is rage. So that is Chris.
Jonesy, I mean this in the most loving way possible, but like bringing mystery men into a conversation like this is the most you thing imaginable.
Can I give you a little bit of an insight? Maybe it's a dad thing because I've been thinking about mystery men for the past 2 weeks. Because I started singing to my son, started singing him like Smash Mouth songs for whatever goddamn reason. We go, chickadee chick the Chinese chicken.
Yeah, that's
and he fucking loves it.
Watch X Files when the lights on.
That's Bare Naked Ladies.
Bare Naked Ladies. Yeah, well, the same fucking shit, isn't it?
Yeah, some shit band full of like weird, like slightly overweight, chunky American guys
wearing those like those Cuban bowling t-shirt, like shirts.
Exactly, yeah. Like bands that would have been slightly less mainstream if they'd stuck to their ska roots, but went a bit more pop to get
the weird thing about
success.
Smash Mouth is they were at the end of that absolute gem of a movie, Rat Race, and they
play
holding
a live show, right?
Yeah, they're playing a live fucking show.
Oh, right. I haven't seen that.
Just like you haven't seen Rat Race?
Is that the weird one with like Steve Coogan and?
No, it's Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson is
John
in it as
Cleese,
an Italian.
Seth Green.
Oh,
yes, Seth Green's in it.
John Lovitz.
Modern Around the World in 8 days.
John Lovitz. In a great turn as obviously part of a Jewish patriarch of a family, and they find Hitler's car.
Yeah.
That movie is so dumb, but
basically
it cracks me up, man.
It's like so John Cleese is like a billionaire, and he basically gets all these people together. It's like there's all this money in a locker over like somewhere else, like it's miles away. First person to get there wins, and it's just all these people making their way across the country in crazy fashion.
I think I remember seeing a trailer for it in the 90s.
It's good. It's a barrel of laughs.
That's an iconic movie right there, Rat Race.
Yeah.
I think so. You've changed your shout is going to be Matt Pat from Game Theory.
Yeah.
I think. Can I change mine?
Take him out, snipe him.
I think I'm going to change mine. I'm going to change mine to Alana Pierce, but I'll let her win.
I feel like didn't you do this last week? You wanted to fight a woman.
No, someone else said something about I should. What was it like? Letting Alana Pierce slap me or something?
Oh right, okay.
And I was like, yeah, okay.
Actually, do you know what? Then can we expand it beyond?
Well, hold on, because now you're
creators?
changing the rules of the game. Okay.
No, I'm just saying if we expand it beyond content creators.
Pierce.
Well, because Alana Pierce is on the game dev side of things now. If you think about it in terms of her actual profession,
I know who you're going to say.
I want a 2v1.
Troy Baker
and Corey Barlog at the same time.
That would be weird.
And I want to do a thing where I want to choke slam them both at the same time.
Oh, to be fair, Troy Baker would just be sitting in the corner doing poetry.
Yeah.
He could retweet that fucking quote about it's the man in the gladiator or the man in the arena, and it'd actually be real because I'd fuck him up.
I've got a great one for you though, Jamie. I've got a great one.
Okay.
Anomaly. Yeah.
I don't know Anomaly.
Oh, you don't know Anomaly?
No, I've got it. Is this a blind spot in my content creator knowledge?
This is great. Oh, I've done it.
Well, you could say something, or you could leave us.
You're
Googling.
fucking googling it.
Yeah, but you could 3 million
Anomaly
subscribers.
Is
that him in that thumbnail?
It's just a dude in a balaclava.
In a balaclava, yeah. He's a crazy popular streamer.
Oh, is this the one who recently accidentally took his mask off midstream?
Yeah. But he's funny, man. I think he's like a Russian or Ukrainian or something, and he'll be streaming and there'd be like an AK-47 just on the floor in the background. He'd be like,
"This guy scares me, man. He'd fuck me up."
Oh, but I reckon it would be such a good match, though.
He's Russian as well. Yeah, he'd kill.
Or some. I might be wrong on this, but maybe not Russian, but maybe like Ukrainian or something.
I'd like to be his friend, but I wouldn't. There's something about the look of like a permanent balaclava that frightens me. I don't know why.
What was the Irish band who used to wear them? Balaclavas all the time in weird videos.
The Irish band that used to wear balaclavas all the time.
You're
not confusing an Irish band with the IRA.
No, is it?
Oh, he's sorry, Jamie. This might make you feel a bit better. He's a Swedish gamer.
Why would that make me feel a bit better?
I don't know.
Because Swedes are less. I guess they're less scary. No offense, Joel.
The only Swede that we really know is he's a lovable guy.
Yeah.
Oh, the Rubber Bandits were the guys that I was trying to think of. Who were the Irish band who have.
Sounds like someone
masks.
Failing to remember the name of the bad guys from Home Alone and getting it wrong. That's
the Sticky Bandit. Oh no, the Wet Bandits and the Sticky Bandits.
Yeah. That's what they were going to get in the cancelled third Macaulay Culkin Home Alone film. They were going to be called the Rubber Bandits.
I like it. But on that streamer slant, I'd like to see Jonesy go against Pokemon.
Okay, sure.
What? Why?
Jonesy just battering women left, right, and centre.
Yeah, I said Alana Pierce, but then I said I'd let her win. But now Pokemon, it's getting weird now. It's just like I've got to stand there and let Pokemon.
Just because you had that rant against Pokemon that one day.
No, come on now, don't say that. I did not have a rant against Pokemon. She's fine and lovable and whatever. Fair play. Simple way.
That just sounds like you want to fuck her.
No, I really don't. Let's move on.
Wow.
To a bit of a catch up because I want to hear what you guys have been playing for the last week.
I've been waiting for this one. Hell yeah.
Oh, okay. Should we start with you then?
No.
All right. Jamie, okay, take it away.
Well, the only really new thing that I've played is something that all three of us have played some amount of, so let's get it out of the way.
But not together.
We haven't played together, no. It's actually one of the rare occasions where something dropped and all three of us played it individually, despite it currently only existing in multiplayer form. And that is Season 1 of Halo Infinite's multiplayer has launched in beta form as kind of a surprise shadow drop, if you will, to tie in with the 20th anniversary of the series. And because it's on Game Pass, well, it's actually, the fact that it's free to play everywhere.
Yeah, it is
free to play on. So we've all played it.
Yeah. Or it's technically a beta, right? It's the multiplayer
yes.
beta.
Yes, I did say that. Yes, while you're on your phone.
Sorry.
But it is weird, isn't it? Because surely, if usually when there's a beta and they have a battle pass, they're like, they usually call it Season 0, right?
Right.
And they usually give the battle pass away for free.
Whereas this is Season 1. It lasts all the way till May of next year, and the premium level of the battle pass is. Yes, most certainly not free.
Yeah, it's 2,000 of those coins?
Yeah. I mean, we can get into like the microtransactions and the pricing stuff, I guess, in a second. I was just going to say...
Weird for a beta, but it's fine from what I could see.
It's in line with other free-to-play things. It's expensive, but then they all are at the moment. That's the issue. I think the game itself, though, I think they've done right by the Halo formula and done right by the Halo series. I think it's somewhat refreshing to have. I know I talked about Splitgate and whatnot a couple of months ago, but kind of refreshing to have that kind of style of arena shooter back in our lives again. And I think they've put together a really solid, well-rounded, polished version of that Halo experience. And I think it's cool that they're kind of catering to the more fast-paced, intimate, arcadey style of Halo experience with the 4v4 modes, and they've also got these slightly larger big team battles that haven't gone off the edge over the deep end like they did in Halo 5, but still big enough to have bigger maps and vehicle play and all of that kind of stuff. It feels tight. It feels like you'd want a Halo to feel. I'm not sure how much I love the Halo experience in this day and age, especially playing this alongside a couple of other games. I don't know, maybe that's just me kind of... It feels slow at times, is what I'll say. And I don't mean that in a bad way, that's just an observation. But overall, I've really enjoyed my first kind of couple of hours with it, I'd say.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed it. I didn't think it was slow, though.
Again, I said it to you guys midweek. Maybe it's because I played quite a decent number of hours of Vanguard. And Vanguard, I should say at the time of recording, dropped its version of Shipment about 48 hours ago, and it had a 24/7 Shipment playlist. So I've been playing a lot of Shipment and dropping 100 plus kills in the space of one match. And then when you go into a 4v4 Halo match with its increased time to kill and the floatiness of some of it, it does feel like sometimes you jump and you're like, what the gravity? How long am I going to take to land? But it's not a bad thing. It's just an observation.
Yeah, it's just different.
It was one of, I think it's my first ever sort of go at properly playing a multiplayer Halo game for any length of time. I think I've played for a few hours at this point. I was awful when I first started. I didn't even know what I was doing really. I was kind of okay, so what is this Is this a loadout system whereby Call of Duty style, or is it like a run around and pick stuff up style? And it did take me a little while to figure it out, and I had to go and I did a few of the tutorials and things because I've literally just never played Halo, and so I had to sort of get into it. It looks nice. I would say it does look nice. I've enjoyed what I've played with it so far. Some of the stuff you said though, Jamie, I think it does. Yeah, I kind of had the same feeling. Not maybe that it's slow, but it feels quite old fashioned in a lot of respects.
Oh, it's very old school feeling. Yeah.
It was it was giving me Quake vibes. It was giving me Unreal Tournament 2004 vibes, like some of the bigger maps and things, which I don't know if I liked necessarily. After a few hours of playing, I was like, okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this game and more I'm starting to get what I'm supposed to be doing with it. And then I wasn't sure if I was into it. I think I want to play more of it. Like I said, I was enjoying it. I was kind of getting into it, but at the same time, I was like, oh right, mate, it does feel a bit dated. But then if that's the Halo multiplayer experience, if that's how it's supposed to feel, and this is development on that, it's probably just that I've never experienced it before, so it feels.
We definitely need to play it all together. Like
yes,
before we kind of let the sun set on that one.
I definitely want to play more of it. Don't get me wrong.
My only kind of gripe that I have with it personally is just the ammo. I just constantly running out of ammo. And I know it's like you're meant to be constantly changing weapons, but I found the balance of how many weapons were around compared to how much I was losing ammo, it just didn't. I think the balance there is off a bit. Personally, I know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I found myself running out of ammo on that sort of initial rifle as well. Like suddenly being like, oh, you've got no ammo left. And then switching to your pistol and being like, oh, okay. Although the pistol's pretty OP.
But that's the number one hint, Jonesy. Just drop your pistol for another gun as soon as you can, whatever you can pick up.
Right.
I like the pistol. I'll be honest. And I
found it quite powerful.
There's like a fucking 6-chamber revolver that's like part shotgun, part revolver that
I've picked that up before.
Oh, I love that one. It's fucking great.
But yes, I agree. Like it's annoying because it reminded me that I've never been a huge fan of the way that initial primary assault rifle feels in any Halo game ever, across campaign and or multiplayer.
It feels okay in this one. Come on.
It feels okay, but it's also just this thing of like, it's a very generic rifle in terms of its skill set, and again, not a bad thing, not a criticism, but again, you have to adjust to the idea of, okay, like there is no ADS, like accuracy is pretty persistent across a lot of different ranges. You don't have to think about things in some of the, you don't even need to necessarily think about like pre-aiming and pre-firing, because time to kill is quick enough that if you're better than someone else, you can win fights that you were second to in some cases.
I've fallen foul of that so many times where because it takes so many bullets to like kill the shield and then shoot them and then to finish them off. And I keep finding that I get the position on someone or whatever, start to shoot them. And by the time I've shot them, taken their shield off, and then killed them, I've had to reload because I've missed it like a couple of times or whatever. And the gun's not very accurate, especially at distance, that they've turned around and killed me. The amount of times I've been meleeed as well.
That was always like, I still to this day love like the crunch and the impact of the melee in Halo, and I think it's almost amplified by the fact that because that time to kill is so high, there's nothing better than rounding a corner, two people face to face, like maybe 10 feet apart, both start shooting at each other and running and shooting at the same time. And it's about the timing of who's going to get that melee in first. Yeah. And when you fucking crunch someone, it's like, and then they die immediately and their body goes boing. That's an all-time great feeling in video games.
I should clarify why I said it felt dated to me, and I think it's because, like I said, I haven't got as much experience, but it's the way, like when you see someone, you start to get shot, you start bouncing around, you like jumping and like trying to not get shot, and it's like you've got a shield, which is, and it's the way you can see. You got players in red and whatever, and it's just like a bit of a weird.
Have you tried the bigger matches yet with the vehicles?
Yeah, I did. That's the one that really felt like Unreal Tournament to me, where you've got like, because in Unreal Tournament 2004, you had to like control the nodes and you had to like push. It was almost like Dota style map setup in that game. So you had to like push, get a node, and then you would be able to then move forward and push and get a node. So this is obviously some of the games that I played were like that, or were the capture the flag ones, or the get the power cell and get it back to your base. Yeah, they felt kind of old school as well, because then it was getting in the little crafts, a lot of the vehicles, and driving around and trying to get position.
Oh, man. Let me tell you, I got on the gun of a fucking Warthog, and that match, I had such a fucking great KDA. Like, it absolutely wrecked everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
All you need is like a good driver and someone with good aim on top, and you fucking...
I had the same thing in Battlefield 2042. I haven't played it since release, but in the pre-release stuff, where I felt like... like being in a tank was where I'd get most of my success, because like the boots on the ground stuff I was never always that good at.
Yeah.
And the other thought I'd share on Halo before, I guess, any other thoughts you guys have, is that when I think back on Halo in the past, and I'm specifically here talking about Halo 3 on the Xbox 360, my enjoyment of it was at its peak when it became something of a platform, and Forge was in there, which I know isn't going to be there at launch on Infinite, but is coming presumably eventually sometime next year. And it was kind of over to the players' hands to create certain game modes and game mode variants and tweak maps. And in the past, the Halo community's creativity has known almost no bounds. And I think if we see some of that again, kind of the same situation with Battlefield 2042's Portal is like, if the community's there and the creativity's there, then that's like a timeless mode in theory. Obviously, Battlefield has some technical shit to work out alongside it, but Halo, at the moment, for a game that Shadow dropped for free, doesn't. I know there have been server issues, big time server issues, but like technically speaking, like when I played the game, when I got in and everything was working, I was like, this is tight, it looks good, it feels good, and bring on the campaign, I guess, next month.
Yeah, totally. I'm fucking all fucking about it.
I'm actually quite excited for the campaign, weirdly. I played a bit of that, obviously the multiplayer, and I'm like, do
you know why you're excited about it, Jonesy?
Why?
Because it's for free.
Do you know, it's because I think it's the first time I've ever played some of a Halo game like this, and then liked what I was looking at in the weapon types, the environments, and thought, okay, it'll be quite interesting to see how they utilize all of this in a campaign. Which is my big bugbear of Halo, is usually I'm like, it just looks plasticine-y, it looks cartoony, I don't like the enemy designs, I don't like blah, blah, blah. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm just amped to be back on an actual Halo, so let's fucking go for it.
Yeah, for sure. Did either of you two have anything else you wanted to say about Halo?
No.
Play it, if you can.
Yeah, no, right. And I guess, like elsewhere, I was just going to say that, like, one of the sort of benefits, I guess, side effects of talking about a bunch of new releases last week is that, broadly speaking, I'm still playing the exact same group of games this week, with the exception of the fact that I have put down Grand Theft Auto for the foreseeable future, just in case.
Finished it?
No, I played.
As in, he's
no, I haven't played
away.
any. I haven't played any more of them since last week because I just felt like, do you know what? First of all, there were other things that I wanted to play, and there were other things that I could play, so I wasn't that upset. I wasn't beating myself up about it. And I just reached that breaking point where you're like, do you know what? Like, I hope there'll be a patch at some point. I'll play it then. Like, if the experience is going to get better, I'll wait till the experience is better.
That's worked out really well for you in Cyberpunk.
Yeah, that's
It's still in the background there. I can see it.
Oh god, yeah, 2022. Now we're looking forward to for that. Look, I'm not going to be naive about what's going to happen to the trilogy. I don't think it's going to be overhauled by any means, but it is still that fundamental thing of if it's going to be better at some point, then I'll play it when it is marginally better. Yeah. And in the meantime, I'm enjoying Vanguard in spite of some of the stuff we're going to talk about later. I'm having a good time with it. Forza Horizon is very, very good, although I am stumbling upon my first personal grievances with it, and it's not really the game's fault. Which makes it kind of a weird one to criticize the game for. Like, to try and explain it quickly, because I think this is a bit sort of like, not even inside baseball or insider trading, it's just kind of like, this is very odd, I'll admit it. But, you know when like people talk about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation in video games, most of the time they use it in the context of talking about open worlds, for example. And they'd say like Breath of the Wild, it is designed to intrinsically motivate the player because they want to explore for the sake of exploration and see what they find naturally. Whereas Far Cry is like, we're going to tell you what you're going to find everywhere, and we're going to incentivize you to go and do things and get rewards for them, and that's more extrinsic by nature. I get the intrinsic versus extrinsic thing more often when it comes to games that have really solid, fun gameplay loops at their core that are then built on by sometimes quite heavy-handed and confusing and noisy systems. And the two examples I have of that for me personally are Destiny 2 and now Forza Horizon, where I'll be playing Forza and I'll be having a blast driving around and doing donuts and crashing through cactuses and walls. And while I'm doing that, because of the way the game's built, I'm building up XP. And when I'm building up XP, I'm getting like points that I can apply to my car that might get me a wheel spin. I get a wheel spin, I get a new car, and I also get XP that levels me up, and I'm completing accolades. And it's got that reward loop that is always ticking over. And every now and then I get to the point where I'm like, I should really do something. And I open up the map and I see 500 icons and I see there's a street race down the road. And I look at the street race and that Street Racer's rewards, in theory, are not that different, or they're marginally different, or marginally improved than what it was like to just drive around. I'm like, I don't feel motivated to go and do the things the game wants me to do, but I enjoy doing the game, playing the game in a meandering sense, and I end up getting paralyzed. And that happens to me in Destiny 2 all the time, where I'm like, I'll spend 5 hours accidentally in a group chat shooting people's heads off in Destiny 2 because it's a fucking blast. And then someone's like, do you want to do a strike? And I'm like, not really for some reason.
I gotta actually play the game? Fuck off.
Yeah. And
isn't the problem with Destiny 2 though more like you say, do you want to do a strike? Well, I have done it 15 times before. Whereas is that the same problem with Forza?
There's a bit of that with Forza. Right. Where it's like you're going to be in a different portion of the world, but it's still going to be a race, like fundamentally.
Feel the same.
And the rewards don't feel that different, and the way it kind of tracks the various progress in towards the bigger rewards, whether that's in the base game or seasonal stuff. And also, like, sometimes it's just like, oh, if I do this, I get a car. I've got 75 of them already.
This is the problem we were talking about last week, though, is that saying that they just give you everything on a plate, and it's just makes everything a bit boring.
And it's just a personal struggle where I have the motivation, the intrinsic motivation to continue engage with their systems.
Yeah.
But where the intrinsic and extrinsic motivations of the game design meet one another, and it's time for the game to convert me from one to the other and make me start clicking on markers on the map, I fall off for some reason.
Right.
It's a very odd phenomenon, and I'm curious if anyone else, maybe at home, listening along, experiences a similar thing. And I don't know why it happens. It doesn't happen in Red Dead Redemption 2. You know, there's no point where I spend 5 hours hunting and doing what I want, and I'm like, I can't be bothered to do the next story mission. It doesn't happen. So why did games like Destiny and Forza, with those core loops, tend to suffer from it? I don't know.
Maybe it's because there's no, like you said, it's just a fucking race. Whereas a mission in Red Dead Redemption 2 is like you uncovering things about characters and you're moving the story along, and the narrative is kind of helping you being pushed. Whereas, because I know what you mean, I kind of got that issue when I was playing Need for Speed Heat.
Right, okay, yeah, that would be similar,
and it was like, okay, well, I'm just doing another fucking race. And it's like, oh, I've got to do a nighttime race to earn a different fucking kind of currency. It's like, okay. And that really kind of grated me. But yeah, I get what you mean.
It's funny, I used to get it in like GTA 3, GTA Vice City, stuff like games like that, where I would just be having fun walking around the world and just being a dick. And then when it was like, do you want to do a story? I was like, not really. Like, I'm quite happy just...
Yeah, I guess
with
that was fucking me in Skyrim. It fucking
right. Yeah, for sure.
It almost seems like
you're almost like the main quest line is the chore that you have to do instead of like, I just want to go look at that cave and fucking see what's happening with that troll and that the giant and the mammoth over there. Like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? I got to climb the steps of High Hrothgar and go see fucking Parthenax and shit? It's like, that's cool. Don't get okay. To be fair, that was pretty cool. But like, yeah, just like moving along the main storyline in like those Bethesda games is often the least interesting part of those games.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have ever had it, but sometimes you get the opposite where you're almost too tied to the main quest in an open world game, and you're like, I guess I could stop getting all these cutscenes and getting these interesting story bites to kind of like go and kill this person, get $500 and come back. But for some reason, I don't want to right now.
I actually, I never get that feeling.
I get that a lot at the towards the end of Rockstar games. Like when you're in the final third of Red Dead Redemption 2, like you're like, there's a legendary bison up there, but also like the story's moving at 200 miles an hour. It doesn't feel right. I don't know.
It feels like a weird thing to go and take I get that massively in those sorts of games where because I am terrible at normally doing every side quest. You can do every collectible, and I'm often the person who gets to the point in the game where some people might have to grind for to get to the next bit. I never have to because I've already done everything. But I'm completely with you that when the story is like, we don't have time, we've got to go somewhere and we've got to do this and it's all on us. And then the game's like, you can just mess around and do stuff in the open world. I'm like, no, I can't. I don't have time. I've got to go and do the thing. Well, there's no clock in the game that actually tells you that you have to do that. But I feel like the narrative is telling me, no, you dick, go and do this.
That was one of the criticisms of Fallout 4, right? It's like, oh, your son's been fucking kidnapped. I'm just going to go and you know,
do
this thing. It's like
it's very odd in Mass Effect 3 where all the DLC, this is in the Legendary Edition, all the DLC that came out after the fact is now inserted in the main game and you can do it whenever you want. And for anyone that doesn't know, like Mass Effect 3 is ostensibly about like the end of like all sentient races in the entire universe, like the end of life as we know it. But one of the DLCs is like a party DLC,
and
where basically
the Citadel,
Citadel DLC, where like you essentially like you get an apartment on the Citadel and organize a party, and it's about like you gathering around and inviting everyone and doing like little side quests, and it's like there's no comfortable time during the main narrative of Mass Effect 3 to do the Citadel DLC, and there are very certain reasons after Mass Effect 3 why you can't do the Citadel DLC. So that's a funny one. But yeah, that almost gets into ludonarrative dissonance. This is now we're into really stupid gamer words, which I apologise for.
I mean, you've really gone into the fucking stupid gamer words with your
I was going to say
and extrinsic.
That's what I was going to say. To go back to them, it almost feels like sometimes, and this is relating to the experiences that you guys just shared as well, it's almost like in games that try to naturally transfer you over from intrinsic to extrinsic motivation at some point during gameplay, there can almost be like a point where your brain almost like becomes reluctant to accept it. I don't know why that happens, but it is kind of interesting. That's all I've played this week. Jonesy, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to be quick with these because I want to hear about something Chris played. So I did play a little bit of, which actually was surprisingly fun. I think I stuck a couple of hours into it. It was one of those where I didn't even mean to. It was Knockout City, which was a free-to-play game on the PlayStation, which is like an arena shooter but with dodgeball, which is actually quite a fun little game.
Yeah, it's the one we took the piss out of when we saw the first trailer.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad.
Yeah, I hear decent things about it. Yeah,
dodgeballing. Yeah, it's fine. It's serviceable. It's like I said, it's free to play at the moment, so you can pick it up and you can have a little play around with it on the PlayStation if you've got PlayStation Plus. So yeah, why not have a little go? And then I watched something. I watched Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings because I'd never heard of it until Jamie brought it up the other day, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And it was a Marvel movie that came out and apparently was at cinemas, and I'd never even realised it was out. And it came to Disney Plus, and so I thought, why the hell not? Let's have a watch. Apparently it's good. It's got good reviews. It's supposed to be a good Marvel movie, and it was thoroughly mediocre. So
as most Marvel movies are.
Yeah, although this was a weird one. It was almost like I'm going to say, so you know that Guardians of the Galaxy is like the first Guardians of the Galaxy anyway, and was like a sci-fi kind of tangent from the main Marvel films.
Yeah.
And I loved that film. I thought it was brilliant. I liked the second one. I thought it was very good. It doesn't feel like it fits with like the superhero kind of aesthetic at all. It feels like it could be a standalone sci-fi film. This was kind of that, but for sort of like martial arts films. It felt very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in places, except it also had some weird Marvel-y stuff going on as well. Yeah, but I couldn't really buy into it. It felt odd to me. And some of the ways that they slide in some Marvel-y stuff, I was kind of like, right, this just feels a bit weird now you've done that. Like, I don't know. And it was okay. It was fine. It was okay. My wife enjoyed it. She thought it was a nice sort of easy to watch. Didn't really have to think about
a glowing review. Well, my wife enjoyed it.
You know what? If nothing else, it seems so far the pick of the bunch out of this phase in terms of it's better than Black Widow and Eternals.
I haven't seen Eternals. I do want to see Eternals. I did. Yeah, Black Widow was not great. This was better than Black Widow. I'll give it that. I need to see Eternals. Let's see how that looks.
I've got to be honest, lads. I know people have enjoyed the TV show offerings thus far in the form of things like Loki and WandaVision, for example. But as far as like, I know Black Widow as a character is Black Widow. But I was going to say, as far as Black Widow, Eternals, and Shang-Chi have gone to kind of kick off this phase, and in some respects, like maybe get us ready for like eventually like another, at some point, presumably another Avengers film with a new set of Avengers.
Yeah.
I keep reading and intentionally spoiling the post-credit sequences of these films for myself, because that's where most of the interesting like Marvel universe related stuff is. And I'm like reading all these things. I'm like, where is this all fucking going, man? Like,
I don't think they know where it's going, personally.
It's a goddamn mess, is what it is.
There's so many different stuff, and like I keep hearing. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but like I keep hearing things that's like, oh, turns out this character is heavily tied to that character who has actually ended up being in that TV series. And I have already in my head written off watching any of the TV series ever. And so it's like the idea that, like, I'll say, for example, there's apparently a very important character in Loki. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake! Like, I don't want to watch Loki.
No. Okay, first of all, let me tell you, I thought that the most recent stuff of Marvel has been not good whatsoever, but I will categorically state that Loki is fantastic. Okay. And you're absolutely right. Like, Loki, a character in Loki is the linchpin of all of this phase.
Yeah.
So even if you're not interested in Loki, just watch the last episode, I guess, or a highlight on YouTube, whatever. But that series is a genuinely good series, and it's not long, and it's worth watching. I will say that.
I suddenly realised that I actually watched another Marvel-esque
Loki
film.
No,
that was actually very good, and I can't believe I completely forgot it was this last week. But that was really good, and it was Venom: Let There Be Carnage.
Oh, okay, and it was good, yeah.
Yeah, no, very good.
To be fair, you really enjoyed the first one.
No, I didn't. I thought the first one. I really liked certain aspects of the first one, but I thought the first one was pretty crap. Like I think they did a real like disservice to what that film could have been. I felt
like because they had Venom say, "Eddie, I'm a loser." It's like, okay.
Well, yes, yeah, they went so weird with like the whole like the final third of that movie was crap. Like I hated it, and I hated the whole setup with the other Venom and all of that. But no, this was so I had read Deadpool versus Carnage like years ago and thought that was really cool. And then when Let There Be Carnage was coming out, I was like, okay, yeah, I can totally get down with that. That I think that sounds pretty wicked. But they kind of have lent into the good aspects of the first movie with this one.
Right.
And played on more of that and like let it be a bit more wacky, a bit more crazy and just kind of gone with what it is. Whereas, which I think is served it well. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good.
I think it's quality that it's 90 minutes.
Yeah, thank God. When we were going to this, because we went to the cinema to watch it and we're like looking up the times and we're like, oh, don't want to take all night. And I think thought it said 2.5 hours because I was looking at the wrong movie, and then was like, "Oh, you're kidding me! I can't watch a Venom movie for 2.5 hours." And then realized it was 90 minutes, and was like, "Yes, that is what I'm talking about."
Yeah. See, that's also another example of a film that I have spoiled. Not the film, but I've spoiled the like mid and post credit sequences for. And again, that's another example of like, is this really where we're going? Like, is this really the plan?
Oh, the post-credit sequence from that sets up something I'm so psyched about if it actually comes. If it
it's at this point I'll say this isn't even a post-credit sequence. It's not a spoiler to say, for example, he's in the trailer that the upcoming film Morbius, starring Jared Leto, Morbius being a similar situation to Venom in that he is a Marvel character that in a movie being made by Sony. Michael Keaton's character from the Spider-Man films is in that. So is he Vulture?
Vulture, yeah.
Yeah, Vulture.
Yeah, so Vulture is in that. So like they're getting far more upfront about the Sony universe films having ties to the MCU films, and now the MCU films have ties to each other, as we'll probably see with the new Spider-Man, which had a trailer this week, and also like. Do you know what? The only one thing I'm remotely interested in is, and I won't. Again, I'm not going to say spoilers, but I'm just going to say there's a tease in the. At least I've read there's a tease in the post-credit scene in the Eternals that I'm like, finally.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm going to go and watch.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I know exactly which one. Yeah.
I saw the Morbius trailer at the cinema for Venom, and I was like, this looks so shit. This is just. They've Jared Leto was awful as the Joker, and so they've hired him as to like an FU to DC to be Man Bat, or that's another DC character, but to be Morbius in like a Marvel movie where he is a Man Bat, and like this is so stupid. Like, what are they doing? I'm just getting annoyed.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Jared Leto with some pretty bad luck when it's come to trying to work his way into cinematic universes thus far. So I hope this works out better for him.
Man.
But that is all from me. So, Chris.
All right, over to me. It's the thing that you've been waiting for, fellas.
Yes, mate.
Okay, let me lay it out for you.
Pens and pencils out.
I've watched Only Murders in the Building.
I've watched it too.
Did you?
Not this week, a few weeks ago. I mentioned it on the podcast.
What did
you think?
I mean, I know you're waiting for me to talk about something else, but I'm going to talk about this first. I really enjoyed it.
Chris, was this? I just got to ask before you tell your thoughts. Is this a TV show like broadly available for streaming, or is it kind of like in a technical test stage at the moment?
This is available on Disney Plus. I will say that much. It's good. It's a bunch of New Yorkers living in a building, and a murder happens in the building, and then they make a podcast while they try and uncover the murder. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because we need to do a fucking known murderers.
Agreed.
As an actual podcast.
And they keep adding to the people that we can cover.
Exactly. It's like it's almost as if celebs can't stop killing each other. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, I just thought I'd give it a shout out. It's great. I finished it like in a week, and it's really good. But yeah,
you finished it already. Oh blimey! Okay, I've only seen like I think I'm not even halfway through yet. So you've like.
I was going to say I've still got 3 episodes of Squid Game left. I'm rubbish with television.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fair enough. You're playing games instead of watching TV, so that's fair. But yeah, so obviously we covered Halo Infinite, which I played. I've downloaded. I was going to say.
Are you doing everything in your power just
yes.
to not talk about it?
Yes.
Okay.
I played. I downloaded Forza Horizon, but I haven't played it yet, which is a rough one because it's like over 100 gigs. But whatever. I played some Dark Souls, fellas. I streamed it. I absolutely fucking smashed it, and I'm gonna I am at the final boss, Gwyn, and that's gonna happen this weekend, baby. Probably on Sunday. So look out for that. That's on stream at Hot Panic. But yes, what you've been waiting for is Elden Ring. I have played it on the.
Oh no, I was hoping you'd talk about Dota.
Oh wow, no, I didn't play.
Actually, we probably need to move on to the news, Chris. If that's right.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. We're just gonna have to keep Elden Ring for next week. No, fuck it. I want to talk about Elden Ring because it's interesting. Okay.
That itself is. That's a curious first word.
It's interesting in that it works a whole load better than I thought it would, and I thought it would work quite well.
Wow! Okay, yeah.
I was very, very pleasantly surprised about how they pulled it off, and not only about like how they pulled it off, but like, you know, the marriage of Dark Souls and open world is like, oh gosh, you know, how are they going to kind of achieve that? How is it? We mentioned when we saw that kind of like 20-minute gameplay kind of showcase, whatever it was, whatever you want to call it, that was like, we were struck by just how Breath of the Wild it kind of felt. And I could definitely say that like it kind of sticks to that. That's not something that we made up in our head or the trailer led us to believe. It is in that kind of let's go and explore, and it kind of you want to go and explore, and you don't want your hand to be held while you're doing it. But then the flip side of that is like, okay, so if you've got that system, but then you've got the Dark Souls system, which is very kind of authored, and it's kind of like you go here and you do this and this, that, the other. And I think they've done a really good job in kind of marrying the two. And like at no point did I feel that like the systems were bumping up against each other. Like it was a solid fucking experience. I played maybe about 6 hours in total.
Nice.
Okay, so it's a pretty good stretch.
Yeah, so a decent chunk. I would have loved to have played more, obviously. And in those 6 hours, I took down most of the bosses in the game. I think by my recollection, there's only 3 bosses that I didn't manage to take down.
Do you know what that makes up representative of the final product?
Oh, the network test?
Yeah, like the number of bosses available in the network test relative to the final product.
I don't
Do we know that yet?
No, we don't know that. What I can tell you is from the map that was shown off on that showcase to the map that we had here, it's a very small portion.
Right.
I don't know percentage-wise, but I can tell you it's a small portion. Like, I would say it's less than a quarter.
Okay, cool.
All right. And like, so I played for about, what did I say? 6 hours, maybe 7 hours. And there was still stuff for me to do and find and discover.
Surprising? Is it surprising how many of the bosses you managed to get through in quite a relatively short amount of time in an open world game?
In a way,
if you think of your other FromSoft game experiences, like they can be really grindy. You can have to, go back and try and fight again and again and again to take out all but 3 of the bosses, in that world. Is that? Do you think?
Don't get me wrong. I did grind, so I had to abandon some bosses and go back. So in particular, you've seen the stuff where you open up the door and you come out to the outside. The first kind of like, does that Breath of the Wild thing where it opens up and shows you the world, and there's a big dude on a horse just kind of walking there, and you're like, oh, that guy's gonna kill me. He was one of the last bosses that I managed to take down. Right. And that fucking dragon is tough, dude. It's good. It's good, and I can't stop thinking about it. It's fucking amazing, and it's weird that like in a year where I'm not really sure what my game of the year is, the best thing that I've played this year is a fucking network test.
That's funny, man. That's really funny.
That's fucking ridiculous. Right?
Did you? What class did you play as? Could you pick?
So they've got predetermined classes here, and it's unclear whether these predetermined classes are going to. I mean, they probably will stick around, but you can't like adjust your stats or anything. It's just like you pick the class, you go into the world, and it's unclear if you're going to be able to, because there's no character creator in the network test, but you presume that there will be in the main thing. I mean, it would be kind of weird if there wasn't. But I went for I think it's called the Blood Wolf, which is a very melee-focused character. And you go through a little bit of a tutorial, just like, blah, 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 know all this stuff. But yeah, it's almost like taking the best bits of Sekiro, the best bits of Bloodborne, and a heavy emphasis of like Dark Souls gameplay and mashed them together in a very kind of harmonious way. And I know, Jamie, you're pulling a grimaced face there, but...
No.
Honestly, I would say maybe it's not a Jonesy game, although Jonesy, I believe you could have fun with it in the same way that Demon Souls is not a Jonesy game, but you can have fun with it. But I think you could really get into it.
At that point, I have to also ask like the trademark FromSoft question, which is obviously it's going to be hard, but Chris, how hard is it?
I think it's very accessible, and I think they're very clever in how they've kind of gone about making the challenge kind of like scalable to how you want it. Obviously, if you go for, the open secret in Dark Souls games is if you go for a magic build, that's technically like easy mode.
Right.
So that's still available. Obviously, with a much more robust kind of like online play, that also opens stuff up. But I just kind of feel that like, what I found with Dark Souls games is that even though like, yes, there's interconnected worlds and you can do a lot of stuff without having to deal with bosses, and then that helps you kind of grind up. It is kind of linear, but then by opening up into an open world, there's a lot more opportunity to kind of say, I just won't even bother with that thing, or I'll come back to that thing later. It's always been there in Dark Souls, but it does feel that like it's a lot more emphasis on that kind of thing. Like, hey, if you're not ready for this, don't worry. There's obviously bottlenecks. Okay. Like that guy that goes there, foul tarnished, come seeking the Elden Ring. Like that dude's a bottleneck. You can't go into the castle to continue without beating him. And he's one of the bosses that I didn't manage to beat. So, yeah, man, just like, fuck, I'm honestly like blown away by it. And bear in mind, I'm playing on a base PS4. And like a first generation base PS4 as well, like none of the fucking upgrades that they ever had. And it ran fine. Like obviously it wasn't like buttery smooth, but it ran fine and it looked fucking amazing. Nice. I'm really enamored with it. Really, really, really enamored with it. And I like it already shaping up to be my game of the year 2022, and could be shaping up to be like, fucking something special beyond what, Dark Souls fans think Dark Souls series is special to begin with.
It's funny because I actually watched quite a lot of content like talking about Elden Ring and people playing it and showing footage of it, and everything more and more I was hearing about it, I was like, okay, I think this could be a FromSoft game that I could actually get into, like from the stealth killing smaller opponents and getting flasks back from taking out groups of enemies and stuff like that, and using the magic classes in order to sort of, like you say, put that difficulty setting like slightly easier.
It's very accessible, Jonesy. It is very. It still can fucking punish you like you cannot believe, and like the bosses are like, hey, if you aren't at a particular level, then they will one shot you.
What I suppose one thing that I would worry about, not for myself, because it sounds like it's something that more like a FromSoft game I could get into, but one of the reasons I've never really got into FromSoft games is because I'm lazy and I can't be bothered to I like to just be able to go ham on someone or a group of people and take them out and feel like a badass and like win an encounter. I can't be bothered to learn patterns of bosses, like go, okay, I need to do this and then do it. And I just get bored easily. Like, you've seen me play games before. That's my biggest problem. I enjoyed Demon Souls. I thought it was fantastic, but stopped playing basically because I just got bored of having to think like too often. And I was like, you know what? I want to play something which is more like mashy when it comes to combat.
Yeah.
I worry a little bit that the dyed-in-the-wool FromSoft fans will find this too much of a departure from a normal FromSoft game. Do you think that is something that they justifiably, or do you think that it's not an issue at all?
No, it's not an issue at all. Like I certainly can see that kind of worry, but like I think the key formula for what like a Souls game is very much present and not necessarily tinkered with. But it's like you said, it's just kind of like, it's almost giving you a breadth of options to kind of tackle those kinds of things. And it's opening it up and, like I said, making it a little bit more accessible. So if you think about like Demon Souls, which is kind of like their first attempt at like a Souls, genre, it's obviously very focused and very kind of like, hey, this is how you fucking do things. And as they've been going on in the series, they're kind of like adding more and more things to kind of help you out. And this is the most broad it's probably ever been. And it's like we said, in terms of like, hey, you can sneak up on people. You can sneak up on bosses because they are there in the world. It's not like in a Dark Souls game where it's like you go through the fog gate and the boss is there ready to fucking tear your head off.
Yeah.
That stuff still exists, sure. But the bosses roaming out in the open world, like it's fucking, you can sneak, like that dude on the horse, you can sneak up and stick your sword up the horse's bum.
Nice.
If you wanted to. It's cool, man.
I'm sold.
It's such
on the bumper, I should say.
On the bumper, yeah. It's such a fucking cool game, and like the open world is really fucking intriguing. Very much kind of pushes you to explore, and there was a wide variety from the stuff that I saw in that like small bit of it.
You say wide because even like Breath of the Wild, which is a comparatively sparse game compared to say like a more Ubisoft designed open world. But Breath of the Wild, you think about like, okay, there were, small like villages and places that were filled with NPCs, and those NPCs could be, vendors or quest givers. And then obviously it was also filled with hundreds of temples that all had their own sort of like elements to them. And like Breath of the Wild was able to feel at times busy and at times sparse and at times populated and at times not and at times hostile and at times friendly. I kind of have this idea in my head that Elden Ring's open world feels entirely hostile the overwhelming majority of the time. Like you're going to walk into a town with 10 to 15 friendly NPCs and there's...
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
So it's like, is there perhaps going to be like a balance or a pacing issue where it's just like, yes, this is an open world and as varied as it can be, everything results to... Every interaction I have is one that's based around combat because every single NPC in this game is an enemy, apart from like I said, the odd vendor, as I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, I mean,
like how do you build, especially like mechanically? Like you think about Breath of the Wild, you think about the melee combat, ranged combat, you think about the powers, you think about you think about the climbing and the gliding, and you think about and how they were able to manifest hundreds of different dungeons. Elden Ring also can't do that. So there are some variety concerns for me when it's like, okay, if this is just a 50-hour game of like killing people,
I think that's
non-stop fighting.
I think that's kind of fair. I think it's kind of odd because it's the example I can give kind of feeds off of Dark Souls to begin with. But God of War, okay, 2018. Right. That was obviously influenced by Dark Souls in terms of like, hey, let's just fucking make shit more difficult. But it still had that nice kind of combo kind of stuff to it. But there, it was also very much like, and okay, it wasn't open world, but it was hub worlds. And it was very much a case of like, you go somewhere and everything's trying to kill you.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? So there's no difference in terms of that. I would say that like in terms of variety, you've got your, to be fair, sparse NPC vendors, but when you see them, it is kind of like an event. It's like, oh shit, there's someone here that, you know, could offer some kind of value here. There's a host of enemies ranging from like dudes that, you know, hardly will scratch you to guys that will fucking pummel you to the ground if you look at them wrong. And interspersed with that, there are kind of like fauna that are like around. So you've got like birds, you've got, you know, like fucking, I don't know, there's donkeys running around and wild boars, and they don't try and kill you. They just try and run away from you, or they just kind of chill, you know. But then in terms of like variety of stuff to do, like you mentioned with Breath of the Wild, there's like, you know, you've got the exploring, you've got the combat, you've got the shrines, you've got this, that, the other. So I'd say majority of that stuff is there in Elden Ring. Obviously, there's no alchemy kind of system behind everything. There's like, oh, you could set shit on fire and everything kind of, it's immersive in that kind of way.
Right, yeah.
So really what we're saying is both games have trees in, so that's why...
yeah, it's a video game with trees for sure. And enemies.
Both got trees.
No, but it's like, it's got some crafting, but the crafting is for consumable items only.
Right.
Okay.
So it's not like a focus of things, but it kind of works out in Elden Ring's favor, I feel, especially in a Dark Souls kind of setting. It's got the exploration and the kind of the area that you're in, which is one area which is meant to be like a biome, was varied enough in what I saw. The boss design is obviously super varied. Then the systems that you've got magic, you've got melee, you've got ranged, and you've got these things called Ashes of War, which are kind of like spells tied to your weapons or your shields.
But that's great, but every single one of those systems you just mentioned was combat associated.
Yes.
So it is wholly, I think, is combat.
I think like it's like
majority of the.
You remember the
it's
gameplay
like
demo?
combat and exploration, right? Like,
but even like exploration, like I know the horse can go up certain things, but like, bro, when you're off that horse, like you're still running around in a FromSoft style way. I don't know. I think like remember that gameplay demo and the big pot. Like I think what I'm thinking to myself now is that like I need a big pot moment like every 10 to 15 to every 10 minutes of open world exploration to kind of keep me not just like saying to myself like, okay, next boss.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
And like
there was one of those that I had where there was you're kind of roaming around and a bush starts talking to you.
Okay, yeah, like stuff like that. No, we laugh, but like that's important.
No, okay.
No, yeah,
so,
it's
you hit the bush and it turns out to be like a little monkey man, and he got turned into a bush. And the idea is it's going to lead to a quest, but it didn't actually lead to anything in the network.
But that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
There's another one where there's like on the beach. There's a bunch of like glittering like footsteps going in a set path.
Oh, I saw someone else play this, but yeah.
And okay, yes, it does devolve into combat, but if you hit that, something dies and it gives you a Ashes of War. But yeah. And then we know that the pot is there. We saw some stuff of interaction with the guy who was the gatekeeper of the Stormkeep, and he told you, no, you're gonna get fucked up if you go there. Like stuff like that is gonna be there for sure. But I think a lot of the kind of like details that you're talking about do kind of skew towards combat, but they are in cool ways. So you travel around and one of the NPCs says, oh, be careful of going to that swamp because a dragon kind of fucking lives there. So you go to the swamp and guess what? Fucking Egil the dragon kind of comes down in a really cool way, fucking lands on a bunch of enemies and just fucking destroys them for you. And then he's just chilling there for the rest of the time until you kill him. So it's kind of like puts a focus on that bit of area. Another time was like, let me think. You see an island on the map, but there's no way to get there. So, but then as you continue exploring, there's a cave, but the cave is dark. So what you have to do is you have to find the NPC vendor to have a torch. So then you get to the torch, you can now see shit in the dark, blah, blah, blah. If you explore that cave long enough, and kind of don't focus on the linear path that it gives you, it takes you to that island that you couldn't go to before. And
nice.
In that island, there is a statue of a dragon. Okay, and it's like some of the hints that they give you. There's like, oh, if only you had something to do with dragons. So what you kind of put two and two together, you go and you kill Egil the dragon. You get an item called the Dragon Heart. You go back there, you offer it to the shrine. It gives you a special kind of thing. So there is stuff like that. It's not just It's not just like
no,
go
because
to the next boss, go to the next boss.
Well, it's because like when I said like a almost entirely combat oriented world, and you brought up God of War, like you're right. But I think that even with like comparing a hub world to an open world, it's still an important distinction because in God of War, when you rock up in Niflheim or whatever, you've still got to more or less go in a straight line through enemies. Yes. And I think when you're presented with that, you accept it. But when you're presented with a world in which you can go around an enemy, there will come a point where you have to say to yourself, okay, why? And I think the things you're outlining there, those become the answers to those questions. Yeah. But it's like it's in those answers that open worlds can distinguish themselves from one another and set themselves apart and establish their reason for existing, which is what FromSoft really need to do for their first departure into that kind of territory.
I think what FromSoft do well is a sense of mystery, and I think for me that's kind of what drives me personally in open world games is why do I want to go and explore? Why do I want to go do this? Why do I want to go do that? And it's kind of those questions and those mysteries and kind of uncovering them. Like, for instance, going to that dragon shrine and saying, oh, okay, well, what is this whole fucking dragon thing about? What do I have to offer it? And then,
That John, that sounds like to me, Chris. Sounds like you're intrinsically motivated to explore that world.
No, really, it's fucking quality. And only thing I wish is that they took that network test and just gave it to people to try, because I think a lot of people, even non-Dark Souls fans, would potentially fall in love with it.
Maybe they will at one point. Who knows? Could be a long handful of months up until
3 months, right?
True.
March?
No, February 25th.
Feb. Right. Okay.
Which
Chris
is now
counting the days.
I am.
Well, it's a little bit less hectic now, right? Because Saints Row left February altogether.
Yes.
And Sifu moved forward 2 weeks, almost to get out of the way of Elden Ring. So,
Elden Ring is definitely shaping up to be that one that no one wants to kind of release against.
Yeah.
And fair play.
Good for them. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I've spoken enough about Elden Ring. It's fucking great. It's fucking amazing. And I'm so amped.
No, that's cool. I've been looking forward all week to hearing your thoughts about it. So I thank you for giving us like in-depth, detailed analysis of the network test. But from FromSoft, a company that can take a game like Demon's Souls, an old game, and do wondrous things with it and make it fantastic, I think it's time to talk about a company that can take old games and do absolute shit with them. I'm of course talking about Rockstar and the backlash that they have faced with the release of Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, which had a pretty diabolical week. It went right down on Metacritic. I think, Jamie, you put here that it actually reached at one point 0.5 out of 10 with the players. It currently sits on Metacritic at a 58 from critics and a 0.9 from the players. So that is still not much better. It's been absolutely terrible. They also had to remove the definitive edition from sale, the PC version, because they accidentally included some secret files or some notes from developers that got sort of found by those PC sleuths whenever they release something that isn't, very well hidden. And a guy online tweeted that it's basically the holy grail for those who care about the behind-the-scenes stuff. And they got to read up some interesting notes about what Rockstar North thought and what they were thinking during the era when the game was actually made, because they got to see the devs' notes linked to a lot of those files. But
it's kind of mad.
Like, come on, Jamie, I've got to start with you on this. What? You've already said that you've put this on the back burner, you're going to wait for a patch. Is it as bad as it sounds?
I stand by what I said last week, and when we recorded this time last week, it was actually before a lot of the shit that had really hit the fan, which is that I still think fundamentally these are totally acceptable ways to play these versions of these games. I still think that a lot of people, maybe even the majority of people, that they will experience some things that they don't like. There will be elements of the way the remaster was handled, whether they were design choices or otherwise, that they won't like. There may be bugs and glitches. There may be things that mess with progression or halt their progression momentarily. But there are still people playing and finishing and having fun with these games, and you can do that. I chose not to because it was a bit too distracting for me.
What was the main, before you move on, what was the main thing that you would say was distracting for you that made you take the choice to...
It's the exact same reason I still haven't touched Cyberpunk. It's the niggling feeling that in this day and age, when games can and often will be better, why play the inferior version? Right. If you feel like you've got the patience within you, then, go for it. And so it's like, did I need to play a potentially inferior version of these games now? Have I not played GTA Vice City for over a decade to suddenly play? I said the exact same thing. If you go back to last year when Mafia 2's remaster was botched at launch, right. I said the exact same thing. I didn't wait a decade not touching these games to play a version of the game that needs to be fixed.
That's fair.
And needs to be fixed. Yeah. And for anyone that I think honestly the most well-rounded and intriguing write-up or look at this game that I've seen so far, unsurprisingly, is the Digital Foundry video. Because I think, again, this is something that Cyberpunk suffered with. It's super easy to assume that a game, or a bunch of games in this case, is consistently the butt of the joke based on the number of viral images you're seeing going around, and then every outlet wants to jump on it, and IGN's video is all of a sudden the 8 funniest glitches and bugs. And it's actually the glitches and bugs aren't really the issue. The issue is things like attention to detail. The issue is things like performance. The issue is things like game-breaking bugs or progression-halting bugs and so on and so forth. The issue is, do you like the design of the characters or not? Those things are talking points. Saying that, Ryder's character model bugs out when he's on a bike is okay, fine. When was the last time a game didn't have bugs like that?
Yeah.
So I prefer the more technical element, and I've got to be honest, that Digital Foundry video was also pretty disappointing because it highlights more things that I'll admit I didn't notice that I also think are pretty rough. Namely, you can play a video game and not know what your frame rate is, and then a YouTube channel like that tells you what your frame rate was, and you're like, huh. That's why it felt a little bit weird, but I didn't know it was like
14 frames, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But my position is still the same as last time, which is without being too emotional about the whole thing, which is just I wanted more for these games. I love them. I still love them. I'll continue to love them. I haven't asked for a refund, and I'm hopeful for a patch, but we'll see what happens. It's super hard to know where Rockstar's head is at with all of this. Super hard to know how much they care about the press and the backlash.
They probably don't care at all.
Well, that's the depressing thing, is there's every chance they don't.
Surely they have to. Rockstar are a company that rarely do they get bad press for something that's badly made. It's not a thing that I would imagine I don't think it's something they've even experienced before, I would have thought. And this is surely damning for them. To go into a meeting and to look down the barrel of a 58 from critics, you can take the audience scores, whatever, and you can take them to one side and you can say, look, anyone's going to review bomb if they don't like. It could have just been they don't like the character models. It could be that they don't like the fact that they've messed with it. But when it comes to the critics who are calling this a 58 out of 100, I think that's the most damning part for them, right? Potentially. I hope so. I hope that this rings alarm bells, and I hope that this kicks them into life because, like you said, they're not super used to seeing, But it's do they consider this a mainstream release? We've seen with GTA Online that they are willing to take
other publishers, not publishers, other devs working on it.
So this was a company called Grove Street Games, and again, I feel kind of sorry for them because obviously they have become the poster boys for this disaster. And you look into it, and they're a small team who I think have 21 employees, and that's not a lot of people to cover a whole lot of game. And they were up front. It turns out lots of people tried to spread it as a conspiracy theory, but they actually openly said it in an interview months ago that they are using they used AI to up-res a lot of the textures, and it's I don't know how much time they had, I don't know how much budget they had, I don't know if the 21 number is accurate, but assuming it is and guessing some of the other two things, maybe it wasn't feasible to check thousands of textures across 3 games in the timeline they had. I don't really want to point fingers, but it's hard not to point fingers at Rockstar themselves, just because of the prestige of the series because of the amount of money. Like, let's be honest,
but
boys,
the
they
buck
spent
stops with them, right?
And they've spent a number of years now when it's come to this franchise in particular, sitting around with their thumb up their arse, making money through subpar content on GTA Online.
Yeah,
and like now they're putting their money where their mouth is, or they in theory they were, and giving us a new product, and it's this. That's a bummer.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Yeah, it's a real shame for people because I think you can say that it's not a mainstream Rockstar release, but at the same time, I feel like every time they put out anything, it's so sort of like coveted because they don't release very often that it's always a bit of a killer when it's not, what everyone hopes it's going to be. But hopefully that patch comes and it doesn't take too long.
I mean, we'll see. The other thing that people have pointed out is that these versions of the games were based on the mobile versions of the games that were also poorly received and yet likewise never fixed.
Oh, God, right.
That doesn't bode that well.
Are they all back on storefronts now, or are they still missing?
They're all back. It was the PC version was the only one that was an issue. It was like Jonesy said, they basically, as soon as people got their hands on the PC version and looked through the files, they were like, oh, there's still like notes from the original development 20 years ago, like Rockstar North's notes. And like I think at one point there was even speculated that hot coffee was still in it, which of course would have been a huge disaster if that had gone public. I don't think that's been followed up on, weirdly enough. But
I saw a headline saying that hot coffee files are in the game, but
I've seen that headline.
What does that mean?
It's not exactly. It's not like there's 4K versions of hot coffee going around the internet right now, which is probably good news for Rockstar. Yeah. But yeah, they took it off sale, and I think people couldn't even access it because the launcher got taken down.
For the whole thing down.
Yeah.
They also said like San Andreas has got a load of music in it which is no longer licensed, so it's not in the game, but then it is still in the game in the files. It's just been basically turned off with a bit of code, so I imagine people could go through and just turn it all back on again if they wanted to. So they've tried to take it.
Even stuff like that, again, it screams of small team that like didn't have much time or money to do to handle some very big projects, and were like, let's get this working as best we can.
Yeah. But
there's too much reliance on AI now as well. Like I might sound like a giant boomer, but there's. do you know what I actually had it was brought home to me the other day when I saw. Do you remember ever seeing the first sort of times you saw the black and white footage like colorized, where someone had gone through and colorized footage, and it looks incredible, and you see like from the 1930s or 20s or whatever, and it's like you see these incredible things that have been recolored and some team have done it, and it's amazing. I saw one of those the other day that popped up, and people were sharing it, going, "Oh yeah, isn't this great?" And it was a recolorized New York from 1930s, done completely with AI, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm keen to see that." And I clicked on it, and it was utter shite. The AI had no idea what it was doing. It was like it had just put chromatic aberration on everything, so there were colors flying around, but they weren't actually attached.
Jonesy,
to anything.
I think the latest version of Photoshop has AI recolor, like colorization built into it, so you could even potentially try it out yourself and see.
Okay, but I'm like, AI is not ready. You can't let it do that. You can't just let it go and just assume it's going to do everything right, because it's not. Like, you need a person at every stage at the moment, especially for a big release like this. And we talked about a number of those things where they were just the names on the shops and stuff like that, where the AI had obviously tried to guess what it was and it just completely buggered it. And yeah, it's unfortunate, man.
I'm kind of with Jamie though. Like, the question is like, do Rockstar actually do anything about this? Because let's be honest.
Not.
Let's be honest. As soon as they release GTA 6, no one's going to give a shit. No one is going to care.
Yeah. It's the exact same shit we talked about with CDPR last year, which is like, trust erosion is a thing, but also so is being a gamer that buys new games. Like, no one, like, and like, how many people are there out there that will honestly put their hands up and say they're not going to buy a GTA 6 or a Witcher 4? I don't think there are many who can honestly stick to their guns on that. I couldn't.
But I think you buy a lot of you buy loyalty through good games, and you look at like a CDPR who have got the Witcher games and The Witcher 3 specifically. They've managed to buy a lot, but if you're Rockstar, I mean, you've got decades of awesome games behind you that people are still going to think back to, and this is one mess up, I suppose, or not one, but it's it's one of the few that you can talk about where they've.
It's 3 in 1.
It's 3 in 1, but luckily for them, it's 1, and where they've screwed the pooch. And they can also say those were incredible games. Like you're just moaning about the remakes, but that's because you've got rose-tinted glasses or whatever. Like, let's move on. GTA 6.
Yeah.
So maybe in 2 or 3 years.
Well, that's it, right? Like we're going to talk about it next, probably. But you look at what's happening with Blizzard and like. All the shit that they're going through, and yet people are still like, as soon as Diablo 4 comes out, people are going to fucking buy it. It's going to fucking sell immensely well. So, and you think to yourself, Rockstar aren't at in the shit that Activision Blizzard is. Even the Activision side of things, there were the allegations coming out there from like, let's say, Sledgehammer Games, like, people are still going to buy Call of Duty. Like, that shit's not going to stop.
Well,
yeah, maybe. But,
you say that. No, yeah, thank you, Chris, for taking us into that story because we're going to talk about it now. So, no, thank you. Because...
and it starts now.
Yeah. He seemed like he was managing to... not stay above the fray, but he seemed like he was managing to keep himself out of it a little bit. I'm, of course, talking about CEO of Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick. But...
Moneyball himself.
Yeah, a bombshell story from the Wall Street Journal has kind of laid out how much he is involved as anybody else, and he has had a bloody awful last week because not only has it been said that he was guilty of some sexual harassment himself, he's effectively been asked to resign. The board are now backing him and saying he's not going to resign and they're going to keep him in there. But he also, my favourite thing in this whole, not my favourite, I shouldn't say my favourite thing, the most insane thing in this little write-up we've got here is that he actually told somebody that he would have them killed. I don't know what they said to make him say that.
That's power, man. That's power. When you say to someone, I can have you killed. I think another time he said, I will destroy you. It's like, that's power talking. That's,
Is it? Like, is that not stupidity? Because he left it as a voicemail as well. So he's got to know that she's keeping that for leverage at whatever point in the future she needs it.
I don't know, man. It's just like, the main thing for me about this is that, like, he keeps on saying, like, no, we've got a very strict zero tolerance policy for all of this stuff. And what's happened recently is the people have, in the various kind of companies and et cetera, King and Activision and Blizzard, when they had like meetings, the employees asked, okay, if there's a zero tolerance policy, is it going to relate to Bobby Kotick? Because there are big allegations against him. And basically they were told, oh, no, it doesn't.
That's because it doesn't count to the people.
It doesn't apply to him.
It just counts to the little people.
Exactly.
They have zero tolerance for those guys.
But also just the very fact that the company came out. I was watching Critical's take on all of this, and he made this point that's like, the fact that the company even has to come out and almost give itself a pat on the back for having a zero tolerance stance on this kind of thing. Like, what was your stance before? Like a 3 strikes and you're out stance on sexual harassment? Like, what? Like, that's not a headline. Just want everyone to know that as of today, we are taking a zero tolerance stance on sexual on a workplace where someone literally committed suicide after they went on a work trip and their nudes were shared around.
But then did you guys watch that video that Bobby Kotick put out in response? Well, it was an internal video, but it was in response to the Wall Street Journal thing. He's basically saying like, oh, I am the biggest champion for these changes, and if anyone doesn't believe, if everyone believes these allegations, then you don't know how serious I am about my, trying to change shit and blah, blah. But basically in that video, he's like, oh, don't believe the allegations, which is like,
that's never a winning stance.
I mean, I hate to say like the whole cancel culture thing. Like sometimes you have to fucking defend yourself, right? Like if you feel that you're being targeted unreasonably, but
people have shown how to do that. Like you go quiet, you let the people say whatever they want to say, and then you let the thing you need the receipts. You get all the receipts together, and then you come out and you show why. And then you just show the receipts and you say, look, here are the receipts. They don't necessarily fit with the picture that's been painted. What you don't do is come out and go, come on, don't believe it. And of course, after his little video message, there was another walkout at Activision Blizzard. 150 employees walked out again, and they tweeted out because and talking about zero tolerance, they said, we have instituted our own zero tolerance policy. We will not be silenced by Bobby Kotick until we will not be silenced until Bobby Kotick has been replaced as CEO, and continue to hold our original demand for third-party review by an employee-chosen source. And that's why they walked out.
But like other shit that's come out of this with like, remember when J. Allen Brack left as president of Blizzard, and then he got replaced by Mike Ibarra and I can't remember the woman's first name, but it was something O'Neill, and they were the new co-presidents. And you're like, okay, that's quite a progressive thing. I guess they're doing a male and a female. And then she's since left the company, but all the stuff that has come out is like, she said, oh, she was just being tokenized and used as kind of like a symbol, but and it turned out that pay discrimination was happening right there in the two of them.
Between the two of them?
Yeah, Jesus so Christ. She was earning less, and she only, I think the story goes, whatever these stories are worth, that she only got up to the same pay grade when she actually announced her exit. And like, you're thinking to yourself, you putting in these people to kind of show that you are all about equality and you're all about like the changing face of it, and yet you're saying, oh yeah, she's worth less than this dude because that's a rich white guy.
He's the real dude who's running it. You're just the token face of.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look, nothing against like Mikey Barra, but it's got nothing to do with him. But it does paint a really damning picture in terms of like what is happening at Activision Blizzard. It's just fucking mental, fellas. I've said it before. I don't think you understand that it still fucking blows my mind that this studio, Blizzard, where that was the only thing I ever cared about in my childhood growing up, right? And just what has become of it. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I think you made a good point though. Like you were saying, it's about power and stuff. Like him saying, I can, I'll have you killed. I think the problem is when you get these big, massive Goliath companies like Activision Blizzard, it just gets so separated from game development and game publishing. It just becomes massive business, and it gets massive business people involved in it who are, all about business, all about making money, and they are psychopaths.
Yeah.
So,
and he's one of the highest paid publicly traded CEOs.
Wow. Okay.
Well, until he took his pay cut, right?
Yeah, but what does it fucking mean? Like, if he gets $152 million bonus the year before.
I'm just trying to defend his own. I'm just putting all the facts out. I'm just laying it all out.
There was a great. So there's this online publication called The Hard Drive, which is like.
Oh right, it makes fake headlines.
Yeah, fake headlines and articles, or rather not fake, but like tongue in cheek.
It's like the Onion. Yeah.
And their thing was like, following all the allegations, Activision Blizzard have decided to change Bobby Kotick's name.
That's great.
Which I thought was pretty fucking spot on. Good. Yeah.
That is brilliant. Last point on this story then is just to say that, because, you can often say that these sorts of stories happen, and if they just wait it out, nothing's actually going to come of it, and it can all blow over, etc., etc. However, we do have reports now that PlayStation boss Jim Ryan and Xbox's boss Phil Spencer have both condemned what Activision Blizzard have sort of said, their response, and they've said that they're going to be reviewing their relationships with the company, which is big news if that does have a knock-on effect and does actually impact stuff going forward.
Even just like to do it as publicly as they've done it, and to add on to the pressure being piled onto the board of directors along with some of the shareholders now. I mean, I'm not well informed enough to suggest at which point a position like Bobby Kotick's becomes untenable. But again, the more public pressure from the leaders of other multi-billion-dollar teams or teams within other multi-billion-dollar corporations that can have very serious consequences on Activision Blizzard's whole business structure, i.e. releasing games, people will start to take notice.
Yeah.
Do you want a little...
You'd think the writing's on the wall, right? But then again, like money and power kind of a lot of times supersedes a lot of those things.
You're right. You're not wrong.
And you talk money and power. Well, the share price for Activision Blizzard, the highest point it was at this year was $103.24. It's sort of, it's been a bit rocky, obviously, and then you sort of get the issues that they've started to have in September, and it sort of starts to dip into the $80 range. As of right now, it has just tanked to $62.67.
Sorry, fellas, I'll be right back. I'm just going to go buy some Activision stock.
Fellas, we got to buy the dip, time in hands.
Exactly.
I don't want any paper hands anywhere in sight.
Maybe wait a little bit longer, because I have a feeling this is going to go down a bit more, and then you can hop in a bit. But I mean, like Jesus Christ, the investors have got to be starting to look at that and starting to say, do you know what, Bobby Kotick is starting to look more and more expensive, and that we need to get
exactly. And especially you consider, okay, so they announced Overwatch 2 is being delayed, Diablo 4 is being delayed from the Blizzard side of things. Their World of Warcraft expansion is clearing up with the next update, which is making it one of the shorter expansions that they've ever released in terms of like a content release roadmap. Then what we're going to talk about next probably is, the Call of Duty sales and how they're kind of taking a dip. Like, it's painting a pretty fucking bad picture for that company right now.
Yeah, man.
And yet, this year, they recorded profits higher than what they did last year.
That's a weird one, though, isn't it? Because with COVID and everything, it does make everything sort of difficult to like look at and difficult to assess. It does kind of throw a little bit of a spanner in the works. But should we talk about Call of Duty now then, as you sort of mentioned it? Because Call of Duty is down 40% year on year for the series. It is the worst performance that the opening has seen for a Call of Duty game in 14 years, which includes physical sales, digital sales. And it's
that's
goddamn terrible.
just in the UK though.
In the UK, sorry, in the UK.
But that's a fair barometer.
Terrible.
I mean, it's certainly not a bad barometer. Yeah.
I think it's down 40% when you can look at it compared to Black Ops Cold War in the UK. We've also got data that suggests that it was Vanguard was the it was the lowest performing launch in 14 years. The original Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which sort of kickstarted everything back in the day, with the Modern War era, back in 2007 sold fewer units during its opening week. But obviously, like, look at now, look at then, very different time, very different game, very different series.
Yeah.
It's
dude, there wasn't digital back then, right? So
no.
Well, there was, but like early doors Steam.
One question I will raise with all of this though, before we sort of talk about how bad it's doing a little bit more, isn't Warzone the main reason for this?
I think it's a big part of the reason. Or I think it's a part of the reason.
If you're getting your fill, if you're getting your COD fill from Warzone, and there are so many players playing that, like, does that stop you running out week one and buying Vanguard? Because I know for me, like, absolutely that has an effect. That sort of thing does.
It's definitely a part of it, but like, you talk about year on year, and there has been a dip. I mean, obviously you get your little fucking spikes and everything, but it could be the return to World War II. Maybe audiences have just moved on, right? It's just not what they want. It could be just Call of Duty fatigue.
Yeah.
Timing with the launches of games like Battlefield 2042, Halo Infinite, and so on and so forth. I think the Warzone observation is an interesting one, because I've always had this idea in my head of almost like a like a chart of sort of like Call of Duty interest and how much Call of Duty there is kind of in the ether at any one point. And we're also used to the idea that it starts to dip again around kind of like spring, summer after a release. And that's when they announce the new one and the hype cycle. And it's kind of like you just end up with this thing that constantly goes. And then, like Jonesy said, Warzone almost adds this kind of like flat line that cuts across directly the middle. And so I know people, I can tell you, I play games with people who don't buy Call of Duty anymore because they play Warzone more than they play Call of Duty, and they feel pretty satisfied in that. It's a tricky one.
There's a weird thing. Even look at like Black Ops Cold War, because I know when that was coming out, I had a really weird sort of thought, which was, I'm playing Warzone. I want to play Cold War for the campaign, but Warzone was almost, although it's free to play, it was almost like bundled with Cold War, like the way that they separate out, the multiplayer, the campaign, Warzone. It almost made, in a strange way, it made me feel like I was buying Warzone again. Even though I wasn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's almost like I already own a third of this game. Like, is it weird for me to pay full price for it? Which was a strange kind of...
A third is a weird metric.
But literally based on the idea that you've got the and the way that they carved it out as to multiplayer, you've got the campaign and then you've got Warzone. It was the way that they
there's zombies as well. Zombies is the third pillar of the...
Well, is it? Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
I'd say zombies is huge, dude.
Because up until 2 years ago, Warzone didn't exist. So yeah, yeah.
No, I'm obviously talking about like in the last couple of years. But that to me made me feel weird about like, I already have Warzone. If I want to play Call of Duty, I can play Warzone. Do I really want to buy this game when actually I basically own a third of it? But
fellas, can I tell you the scary inevitability here? All right?
Go on.
Fucking Thanos saying, I am inevitable. Okay? Year on year, COD keeps on going down, but Warzone stays consistent. So what does Activision Blizzard do? They don't release new COD games, and they just like annual COD games don't become a thing. And all you're getting now are big content releases purely for Warzone.
No.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
no. I can tell you why not.
Tell me.
Because Vanguard is the example we've got of Call of Duty going down year on year, but prior to that we had Black Ops Cold War, which was released after Warzone and was a improvement on previous entries. It was up year on year on previous entries. Next year we got the launch of Infinity Ward's Modern Warfare 2 in all likelihood. Modern Warfare 2 will be a behemoth and will launch and be the best-selling Call of Duty game since Call of Duty 2019.
Yeah, well, look, I'm not saying that this is going to happen next year.
So hang on, like your reasoning for Warzone eventually superseding premium releases is Call of Duty being down year on year, like, and I've just given you evidence that I believe that it will go down year on year once, like out of like the last 5 games. So
well, I feel that
it's directly contradictory evidence to the idea that like it's consistently
we've got to see what's happening, right? But like from the Warzone effect, it does seem to be impacting the mainline audience, right? And,
yes, I agree.
And if we know anything about fucking Activision Blizzard, unless they fucking change their ways, it's all about the money, Lebowski. And if they look at it and say, why should we pay all of these studios to just fucking leapfrog around each other when we could just focus on Warzone?
I kind of reject a little bit Jamie's idea that Modern Warfare 2 will be the biggest COD game of all time.
I didn't say that. I said it would be the biggest I think it said it would be the biggest Call of Duty game since Modern Warfare 2019, which means it would be bigger than Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so you don't think it'll be okay? Right. So just the biggest ones is those two.
Yeah, because the other thing I think Warzone is a smash hit, and in terms of like total player numbers, I think it's been a very successful 2 years for Warzone. But I think Warzone's numbers this year coming will be the worst Warzone numbers since release.
Yeah.
Because do you want to know how many people I know that are still playing Warzone on a regular basis? 0. Yeah. You guys?
Oh, really?
Nah, I
don't know.
Gave up on it way before people gave up on it.
My prediction is that, yes, there will be a new map that arrives in a couple of weeks alongside Season 1 of Vanguard's content. That new map will sort of like reignite some interest in Warzone. But I think the game at the moment is to keep Warzone kind of like going, to keep it fairly consistent. And I think, like with the first Modern Warfare, Infinity Ward's Modern Warfare 2 will be used as the opportunity to kind of release a new premium product and revamp Warzone and try and like respin it out and that's when you try and get people back.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, okay, like, let's take next year away and forget about it, and potentially even the year after that, because obviously that's still being worked on, right?
Yes.
But if you talk about after that, potentially, okay?
I've actually got a list. Sorry, go on, Chris, go on.
Why release a new standalone when you can take that effort and that money? Like you said, like, so Modern Warfare 2 is going to come out and they're going to have a big content thing that's going to revamp what Warzone is. But what I'm saying is they're going to get to a point where Warzone is going to be their number one focus. And what's going to happen is that year on year, instead of annual releases of like mainline titles, you're going to get annual fucking revamps of Warzone.
Bro, like the reason I don't believe it is because I've been having this argument with people about FIFA for a decade plus. The thing about the bullet point that Jonesy hasn't read from all of this is that even in spite of everything we're saying, we're talking exclusively about the UK, right?
Yeah.
It's the second biggest UK game launch of the year after FIFA 22. So even when they're at their worst point in 14 years, they're still the second biggest fucking video game on the planet. Yeah. Do you want to know how much money that is in $60, $70 sales? That's a fucking shitload. If you think for a second they're going to stop shipping a premium product. Also, what does Warzone stand to benefit in terms of cumulative player counts and the amount of money those players are spending while playing the game by taking the workforce that work on premium Call of Duty titles and the budget of premium Call of Duty titles and funneling that into the Warzone experience?
Yeah, but they'll minimize.
Do you think all of a sudden? Do you think all of a sudden spending an extra $10-20 million a year on Warzone's content means that tens more millions of players are going to suddenly decide to download it? I think, personally, it hit the 100 million player mark. I don't think there are that many people out there at the moment that are on the fence about a free-to-play Warzone saying, do you know what, if only they'd spent the Vanguard budget on Warzone, then I would have downloaded this free game. I think we're trying to make this a zero-sum argument where I think the evidence has been for years now, whether it's FIFA or Call of Duty, that the microtransaction-given portions of video games and the premium portions of video games coexist beautifully and make money for everyone.
Wow. Interesting assertion, Mr. Jamie. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
And that's why Bobby Kotick should keep his job.
I managed to find a list of the highest selling Call of Duty games.
Yeah,
I thought it might be fun if we quickly. Do you want to pick the top ones?
Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 1.
Not even close.
No. Is it all-time sales?
Yes. Well, I believe so.
Black Ops 2?
Let me just double check what it is.
Big, wasn't it?
Well, let Jonesy get his data up first, because also you the three you said, Chris, were like at least one of them has to be on there.
I think because I remember reading something about it recently, and it was like,
I'm going to assume it is worldwide sales. I can't. It can't.
Is it a Wikipedia article? And if so, what's the name of it?
It's Gamerant.
Read what the name of the article is then.
Well, I don't think Gamerant's the kind of.
The highest selling Call of Duty games ranked and how much they sold.
Is the number big enough that it looks like cumulative worldwide sales? And also like
what is okay? So the number one is 30.72 million sales.
Okay, and pause there. Is it the top 10?
It's the top.
What are we doing? This is just get the Wikipedia article.
14. Top 14.
If it's the top 15, then Chris is 14. Right on all three of the names he said.
It's the top 14.
You said no.
Apparently, Call of Duty Black Ops was number one.
No. What did we? Jonesy, how have you made such a heads at a pig's arse? Chris said we're just guessing. So now we have to guess them in order from one descending.
I said, do you want to guess the top three? And then Chris said Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2. What did you say? Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2?
No, I said Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 1.
No, Modern Warfare 3, you got that's number 2.
What are the other two? Black Ops and Black Ops 2?
Yeah.
Number 1 was Black Ops and number 3 is Black Ops 2.
But number 4 is Call of Duty Ghosts.
Ghosts is number 4, yeah, that is.
Ghosts is 4. I did not know that.
Black Ops 3.
Is it MW2 then?
Then I'll go, no, it's Black Ops 3 next. Then it's Modern Warfare 2. Then it's Advanced Warfare. Then it is World War 2. Then it is Modern Warfare. Then it is World at War. Black Ops 4. Infinite Warfare. Call of Duty 3. Call of Duty 2.
So Vanguard slots
Black Ops
in.
Cold War at number 15 with 5.7 million.
That goes to show, interestingly, just how...
Month.
Oh, the first month, I was going to say. That also goes to show how different the UK is to global, because in the UK, Ghosts is considered one of the lesser selling Call of Duties.
It is, yeah. It's difficult to try to extrapolate. Like, it gives you a good idea by looking at like the UK or one place, but obviously, it could just be an outlier that's for some reason the UK didn't like.
That really stressed me out for that portion for some reason, Jonesy.
Sorry, mate.
I really like quizzes.
I do think Chris raises an interesting point, though. Like, I get where you're coming from as well, Jamie. But there is, unfortunately, there is a formula, right, where they will sit down one day and they'll say, what are the margins? How much money do we make on a single player campaign with, the multiplayer attached? What can we do from the free to play side of it? Where does our investment go? How much money can we make? And there are definitely questions that will arise in the years to come with the Call of Duty franchise and how they
I just think that like what we've seen with games, even like free-to-play games that don't have a premium component, like Fortnite, for example, I think the biggest determining factor for ultimately player count, and I think the player count usually determines the amount of money or the amount of revenue the game will generate, is not necessarily like, obviously the game has to be in a good state and it has to have a good volume of content and it has to have positive word of mouth. But I don't think there's necessarily like I think one of the bigger issues is like getting it in front of people. And I think like again, to go back to the example I made before, when you're talking about Warzone's hit over 100 million players, how many people out there that are on the fence about a free-to-play product and need to be convinced to download it and start playing?
It's a kind of a weird way to frame it,
but is not releasing a premium product and taking some of the money and skill sets of the people who would have developed that game and utilizing that on your free-to-play. Is that the thing that people are waiting for?
But you kind of you have a weird way of framing it, because the way you frame it is like you have 100 million people that are already playing it. You've got people on the fence. You're almost taking a snapshot in time, which is weird for me because obviously 2 years down the line, that the idea of there's 100 million people, who's still on the fence, it's a moving market. You've got people that come into gaming, people who leave it, people that, who maybe just never even thought to play Warzone. I think it's a much more dynamic area than I think we're giving it credit for.
I agree.
I don't necessarily think you can play it off quite.
That's in the negative column in terms of risk assessment, because what's not a dynamic market? Releasing a Call of Duty game every year.
But it looks like
it's a very dynamic market.
It looks like it might be. That's the thing, right? It's a bit volatile.
When your market is at its most dynamic, when like your worst launch in 14 years is the second best selling game of the year, you're fine.
Second best is also a strange way of putting it, because you're comparing it to FIFA and saying it's the second best. If every other game of the year has sold nothing, it's not that great to say if 3 sold 5 copies, then being number 2 is not exactly
but look at the video games that released this year and tell me that 3 sold 5 copies.
Well, they must have sold pretty badly if they're being beaten out by a really underperforming Call of Duty game.
I don't know. We know that Resident Evil Village sold millions, as an example of a third-party game, of a third-party multi-platform game.
Yeah, sure. And then you could say, what else?
I'm going to see if I can.
It's a lot of as we'll get to when we look at the Game Awards stuff, there's a lot of stuff that's tied to individual platforms, ironically.
Yeah, there is. And actually,
harsh in sales.
Looking at the time, we should really move on to the Game Awards, because otherwise we're going to run out of time to talk about this, because we've been going for ages.
All right, give us the fucking crib notes on this one.
Okay, so everyone knows already the Game Awards is coming around again. Jeff Keighley can't wait to get his shiny boots on and give us a show where he's actually going to be there this time, and so is everybody else. And I know he's already said before that he can't wait to get back in the studio and back on the stage and do some presenting. And they've released some of the nominees who are going to be at the Game Awards 2021. So I thought I would give you a few of them. We've got Arcane's Deathloop, which has been nominated for 9 prizes. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart from Insomniac, which has been nominated for 6. A bloody good game. That should definitely win a few. It Takes Two from Hazelight and Double Fine's Psychonauts have each received 5 nominations.
Psychonauts.
Some absolutely cracking games in that little list there. So yeah, well done to all of those guys. The Game of the Year nominees are Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank, and Resident Evil Village. Thoughts on those ones?
Sure.
Is anything absent?
I think the thing that is arguably absent, especially if you ask Xbox fans, is Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah.
I think the observation that's being floated around a lot on the internet right now is that, according to OpenCritic, Forza Horizon 5 is the single most critically acclaimed game of the year.
I'm one of the people who hates games coming out and then immediately being in award shows. Like, I get it. It should be there. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But the nominees have come out today. Forza Horizon 5 came out, a week ago?
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, did Forza Horizon just miss the cutoff date?
Yeah, I think that's...
Technically, no.
Yeah.
It's nominated for other things.
Oh, okay. Well, because we've all seen award shows before where they say, like, nominated for Best Picture, and it'll be like a film which hasn't even released yet. And you're like, come on, man.
I hate that.
I can't stand that.
Yeah.
That really bugs me.
Or it was released in one cinema in New York for 3 weeks, and it was like, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only people that saw it were the critics on the fucking panel of the Academy Awards.
It's as bad as games that before they've even come out, like before the games even come out, and they've got all the advertising material coming out for it, and they've won like 30 awards. And like the game hasn't come out. How's it won 30 awards? No one's played it. No one's seen it. Who the freaking hell's giving it all these awards?
I will say that these are all top quality games. From the ones I've played, I haven't played Psychonauts 2 or Metroid Dread, and I haven't played much of Resident Evil Village. But like, it does feel like a bit of a 2019 for me in terms of like, these are all good games. None of them are Unreal. Like, Unreal with a lowercase u, I should say.
It's a Unreal Engine. Yeah, I agree with you. It's like the best of what's available. But what's available is not the best.
None of them feel like how the way you were describing Elden Ring could be next year, Chris. If that makes sense.
Totally. But that's and it's what I said, right? Where for me, the game of the year is a fucking network test.
But isn't that kind of strange because a few of these games here were heralded as absolutely incredible when they released, and game of the year, like Ratchet and Clank, Deathloop, Metroid Dread. I think some people were losing their minds over. No names mentioned. Like that at the time, they were called incredible. They were called Game of the Year games. But now we've actually rolled around to the Game Awards. Everyone's a little bit like, meh.
I think some people felt that way. It's just I think this was also a year where like Deathloop is a great example where like that got some 10 out of 10s and some high profile publications, and most of the people who played it, even the people who liked it like myself, didn't think it was a 10. So I don't know why that happened, but yeah, that did kind of happen this year.
But also like for good games.
Also like take Metroid Dread, like, and I know I'm going to get fucking crucified for this, right? But like a difficult Metroid game that's a 2D Metroid game that's like it's almost like it's a hard sell for it to be a game of the year. It might definitely be the game of the year, but it's almost like you think of it as a hard sell. And I think you look at Psychonauts 2 and you think that's a hard sell as a game of the year. Right. Like I love Psychonauts 2 and like it probably overall is my game of the year.
Right.
But then again, I haven't played that much, so what do I fucking know?
I think Metroid Dread like should probably win Game of the Year if this.
I think it will.
If this was 2012, I think it probably should.
I think it's going to be Metroid Dread. Or
Jonesy just snuck his joke in there, Chris. Did you catch that?
No, what did he say?
Say it again, Jonesy.
I said if this was 2012, it probably should.
See, I thought you were being genuine for a second there. I actually agreed with you that I think Metroid Dread will win. Because again, like a lot of the times what happens with the way the voting works is like if a lot of people are super passionate about a game, then it usually kind of ends up sneaking through.
Yeah.
And
this is going to be 90% jury and 10% fan. So yeah, the fans can swing it. They can sneak it through if there's a particularly big fan contingent that really want a specific game. I think it's tough. I think that's really tough.
I think it's fucking as clear as day, and you guys don't see it yet.
You think it's Psychonauts 2?
It's going to be It Takes Two.
No, it won't.
That's the dark horse, right?
It's the dark horse, and you know what? You know what else? Fucking all it takes is Joseph Fares to get Jeff Keighley in a room, give him some coke, show him a good time. That's what it's all about, baby. That's the games industry right there.
It Takes Two, though. Like you could make I could be convinced that with its vision and what it was trying to do, and like it's a lot of fun. It's a wicked game. But I find it hard to call it a game.
Yeah, it'll be a Metroid Dread. Out of what I'm seeing there, it'll be Metroid Dread.
I've only played 2 of those games, and
maybe Ratchet and Clank. But
I'd be happy.
Ratchet and Clank
would go more Metroid Dread.
Ratchet and Clank is the perfect example of like a game that was like a polished top to bottom. I had a great time playing it. I think it fired on all cylinders and was a genuinely impressive and fun and memorable experience. It's not Game of the Year. It's just not that kind of game. It's not that caliber. It's not that pedigree. I don't know why, but there's just something in my head that's like it doesn't. No, it's not like.
I know.
Okay,
I think I agree with you.
But what would you guys say is your personal games of the year then? Like so far,
I know what mine is, and it counts for me, but it doesn't count for this.
Yeah,
but it's Disco Elysium.
Oh, see, Disco Elysium, fantastic game.
Because I think I think the addition of the version that had voice acting added in, which did come out this year, I think that was enough of a game changer. I think honestly, again, also wouldn't count, but Mass Effect Legendary Edition is way up there as well. And then honestly, we are talking about Deathloop and Ratchet and Clank and games that I feel very comfortable putting at like 3 and 4 and 5. Fucking Returnal, Hitman 3. Then there's some indie games that I've really loved this year. Like, and you know what, Guardians could be a top 10 game. I think The Artful Escape could be a top 10 game.
Okay.
What?
Nothing. I really liked Artful Escape, but I don't think I could put it in top 10 for games.
Artful Escape is like, for me, again, this is just the way my brain works. That's like a super comfortable, like, number 10, number 9 kind of like props.
Man, I've got to play these fucking games. Got to stop playing Dota and finish Dark Souls and then fucking get on it.
Oh yeah, and I'd say as well, Forza Horizon would be in my like top 10 somewhere.
Yeah. I'm struggling to remember what even else came out this year.
Back 4 Blood would be in the top 10 for me.
Do you want to know? I can tell you what I played this year. If this might jog your memory,
hold on. Did Marvel's Avengers come out this year?
No.
Was that the year before?
I was
going to make a joke about Marvel's Avengers. I don't even need to.
Things that I came out this year that I played, and I think you played as well, Jonesy. Hitman 3. Don't know if you played that. Destruction All Stars. Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. That could be in my top 10. Outriders. Maquette. It Takes Two. Disco Elysium, Final Cut, Resident Evil Village, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, Mass Effect. The Ascent. 12 Minutes. Diablo 2 Resurrected, Splitgate, Call of Duty Vanguard, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Aliens Fireteam Elite, Back 4 Blood we all played. Obviously recently
for me.
Yeah, there you go. Recently we've had like Age of Empires, Forgotten City,
Chivalry 2,
Unpacking.
Unpacking Game of the Year.
Chivalry 2 actually did get some nominations, Chris.
Yeah. Chivalry 2 was damn
Chivalry
fun.
2 was nominated for I think Best Action Game, if I'm not mistaken.
It should win. Hell yeah. All right, but fellas, we're going to be here forever. Let's carry on.
Yeah, let's move on. So we've talked about the fact that Forza Horizon 5, I think, has been a little bit... people are annoyed that that's been snubbed and it's not been in the Game of the Year category. But there was a surprise in the RPG category because Cyberpunk 2077 has been included as a nomination. Yeah.
What's that? That's a very loaded pause.
I think I said this to somebody on our Discord. I absolutely can see justifiably why it has been nominated, but for the same reasons, not the same reasons, but the reasons that it should be nominated are not the same reasons why there's no way it should win. It should be in the category, but there's no way it should win.
I agree.
think that would be insane for it to win,
for
but it should
reference,
be nominated.
Its competition is Monster Hunter Rise, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Tales of Arise. Very Eastern heavy, super Eastern heavy RPG category.
Yeah.
And maybe not like the Western heavy hitters. It is the Western heavy hitter that it should be at least, but it's not.
But maybe it's a case of like what other Western RPG came out.
Right, like I think a lot, not a whole lot. Right. I'm guessing.
But why have they even included it in the?
But even so,
in this
because it came out after the Game Awards last year, in December.
Yeah, of course it did.
But I'm with Jonesy. Like I totally see why it could and should be nominated. It shouldn't, and I agree with him in saying that it shouldn't win, but most definitely it's worth a nomination for sure.
Yeah,
it's not a bad game. Like I think it's just like it's a misunderstood game. It's a misaligned game. And I just think like it's at the end of the day, it's still a role playing game, and it's a fine role playing game.
It's tough. Like it is tough. Out of we talked about Game of the Year, what the games that were in there for the Game of the Year. I would be tempted to put Cyberpunk as like I wouldn't say it was my Game of the Year if it was included in this one. Obviously, came out last year, but it has enough moments that I've played in that game that made me say wow and really enjoy it and think it was incredible and love that game and think it was a fantastic, well-written, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, absolutely, it should be nominated. But I do think that it would be a bit of a smack in the face to the other people in the category if that then turned around and won, given the shit show that its release was. Should we get on to Jamie's favourite category, the final one?
Yeah.
Content creator of the year is a strange old category. I think we even talked about it last year, and I, being an old grumpy bastard, said that it shouldn't be necessarily all streamers, but it is again all streamers. And so this year, content creators that I don't think I'd heard of any of these. We actually talked about it on the pre-show. Jamie gave me a little test, and Chris, to see if we'd heard of any of these people. Chris had heard of a few of them. I'd heard of none of them.
I'd heard of 3 of them.
So
in
do you know
some
what I'm
capacity.
Right, 3 of them. Right, okay. So how many other altogether? 6?
5.
Let's tee this up for the audience. If you're watching on YouTube or just YouTube, keep a track of the number of these creators that you have heard of yourself, and then in the comments down below, let us know if you had heard of any of them, if you'd have heard of all 5 of them, and post your number and say this is how many I'd heard of. I would have a big fat 0. So don't feel ashamed if you have a big fat 0 as well.
No, do feel ashamed. At least because you should at least get 1 out of these 5.
No, they'll be in my club. They'll be in the big fat 0 club. It'd be fine. I think I kind of had heard of one of them, but I'm going to say 0 because I don't know if I had, because it's too common a word. Call yourself a proper stream name. It's ridiculous. The content creators nominated are Dream, Foosley, I can't even say this one. Ghouls or Gaules.
Gauls. Or Gaul.
Oh God, how do you say it? Ibai? Is that right?
Yeah.
And,
Jamie's like
the Grefg.
It's almost like Jamie's watching a toddler, a baby learn to walk for the first time.
No, except in that scenario, I am also a toddler. Except I'm maybe like 6 months older, so I'm not that sure myself, so I'm not going to correct him.
And the Grefg. So yeah, that is Dream, Foosley, Gauls, Ibai, and the Grefg. I have not heard of any of these streamers, but they are massive. So fair play to them for being nominated. We've got 3 Spanish-speaking, 1 Portuguese, is it, and 1... Where's Dream? Is Dream American?
Dream's American, yeah.
Dream's American.
So I think it's, my mistake, I think it's 2 English, 2 Spanish, 1 Portuguese.
Right, okay.
Maybe, I think. I don't know.
So they've gone international for this content creator category. So that's probably why I haven't heard of a lot of them. Also, because, like I said, I'm an old man.
I don't know. I mean, is it fair to say that best content creators of the year are the most popular ones? There is an argument to be said that yes, it is, but I think
I'd prefer it to be a more boundary pushing category.
That's what I would like as well. Like, because if it's purely on more popular, then guess what? Cyberpunk wins Game of the Year.
I see. That's what I was thinking when you said popularity. I'm like, oh, how big they are. I don't think any of the other categories should be use that metric. But when it comes to streamers, it would be kind of dumb if it was just who had the most streamers, because you take out any of the fun of voting and nominating, right? But I think there should be 2 categories: streamer of the year should be a category, and then content creator should be an artistic endeavor to create content around video games. I think the 2 should be completely different categories.
Yeah,
Jeff,
I could support
if you're
that.
Listening, split the category.
Fellas,
and nominate us.
Fellas, this tank is running empty. Don't nominate us because I don't have any fucking stamina. So,
but that has brought us to the end of the Super Show for this week.
No, you did miss one award. It's the podcast that had to end prematurely because one of its hosts got tired.
Prematurely is not the word, mate. We've been going for nearly 2.5 hours.
Mate, I got told that this was
Jamie,
I got
listen,
told that
any lady would be satisfied, all right?
She'd be annoyed by now. She'd be.
I think she'd be fucking. It would all be dried up.
She would have been finished 2 hours and 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what this is? That's one thing that I always want to say to like younger dudes. Where you see online and they're like, "I need a bigger dick. I need to go for an hour and a half." I'm like, dude, no woman wants that. No woman wants either of those things. She doesn't want a 10-inch dick, and she doesn't want to go for an hour and a half. Speak to some women. Jesus Christ.
Well,
she'll be happy with average size 10 minutes and a sandwich after.
Is that the key word?
Yeah, that's the
Fucking
key
hell.
word.
I've just figured out where I went wrong. But actually, I went wrong on all three of those things in a roundabout way.
Yeah, just finish.
Less than average, 90 seconds, and I'm going to fall asleep immediately when we're done.
Wow. Okay.
That's the problem. You didn't offer her the sandwich. If you
Winners.
finish it off with bacon sandwich, she'll keep coming back. For
Oh,
life.
mate, who's making a bacon sandwich? She goes to the bathroom to clean up. By the time she's come back, I'm like spread across the entire bed, still completely butt naked because I haven't put my pants back on.
Snoring
Just
like
lying
a
there.
warthog.
Like lying on top of the covers, so she has to roll me like a corpse across.
It's already snoring.
Brilliant.
Yeah, literally lying on my back, head back, just snoring the night away.
Oh well, it is almost 2:00 in the morning here, so I think it's probably time that we all go to bed and fall asleep like corpses.
I would love
and
it.
roll around snoring. Thank you so much to everybody for watching. If you would like to check out the Patreon, you can go to not Paisley Radio. You can go to patreon.com/SuperShow. We are on PaisleyRadio.com Thursdays at 10 o'clock, and you can also catch us on podcasting platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else. And we're on YouTube and Twitter at SuperShow Pod. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Chris. You absolute legends. We'll be back next week for another podcast. If you do go to the Patreon, you can check out some other content we have got, like the pre-show, some after-show stuff, some behind the scenes, and Known Murderer. Check it out.
Fellas,
And we'll see you.
episode 99 next week. Jeez Louise.
Oh my god, we're getting close.
We are getting very, very close. Yeah, not long at all. Till 100. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Take it easy. See ya.
Jeez, thanks for the maths.